Okie dokie. So the live stream is ready to go. Comments are unlocked. So to people that have started watching now, the show will begin at 8 o'clock. So there'll be a little chat going on at the moment. The link will be also shared on our Golden Goal social media pages too. So you'll be able to access it from there. We would like you to encourage, we'd like to encourage you to get involved in the comments. And yes, we start this all at 8 o'clock. But what I'm going to ask George to do while we post a few links out online, there have already been plenty of transfer stories happening today. George, could you read us some of them, please? Just the stories. That's kind of tell us the deals that have gone on so far, and we will start the show at 8 o'clock so that you people watching will not miss any of the special guests.
Yeah. So we've had Matheus Nunes, who's gone from Wolves to Man City. That was official today. We had man like Nuno Tavares going to Nottingham Forest from Arsenal. That's in a loan deal. We have had this one especially for man like Abdi, Super Johnny Evans, return of the Evans. He signed for Man for a year, as far as I know. We had. It's not. I don't think it's been officially confirmed, but it's near enough going to happen. There's Brendan Johnson to Spurs from Nottingham Forest. We've had Davy Klaassen from Ajax to Inter Milan on the permanent, and there are some other transfers that are near done, but obviously they're not official yet because they're having their waiting for the clubs to announce them. If you guys that are watching know that I probably have missed a few, so please let me know. I know Manchester United bought a goalkeeper in. I will leave that one to Abdi to pronounce that name. And we have had Callum Hudson-Odoi, that is official now, from Chelsea to Nottingham Forest, with plenty more.
And we are starting the show now. It is 8 o'clock, so welcome to people watching. Hopefully we'll get people watching soon. Welcome to those who are listening to this on demand. And if you're joining us live, we are especially welcome for your support. If you are watching live, feel free to share this link with your friends so that everyone can join our transfer window extravaganza. We are on until about midnight. This will be a very, very special evening. I'm Hubert Pavelkovic, your host, and I'm joined by a lot of special guests today, and we will get different guests on throughout the show. We also have some video contributions lined up later, so I will tell you what you can expect from the show today. We will be starting with talking about Tottenham Hotspur with a resident Tottenham fan. We will then move on to talk Arsenal with a few special Arsenal guests between 8:30 and 9:30. Between 9:30 and 10:15, we will be talking Manchester United and Liverpool with our relevant guests. From 10:15 until about 11ish, we've got video contributions, and 11 until the end of the show, it's basically anything else in between. Plus also, we will be throwing out the Zoom link for the listeners to join. So if you are part of the Facebook group or the WhatsApp group, you will have your chance to come on and chat to us about the transfer window and what you feel your club has done and how you feel about it. So without any further ado, we will encourage you to post in the comments as well. We will read the comments out where we can. There will be football score updates going in when possible, and any news coming out as well, we will also share. So let's introduce the people we have so far. Of course, our fellow admins are here. George, how's it going?
I'm good, mate. It's been a very, very busy day. I am here. I'm not on video, but I will be in a bit. But I'm just watching transfers. I'm like Golden Goals, better looking version of Dharma Chef, I reckon. But yeah.
And we already have one transfer breaking. A player whose name I cannot pronounce has joined from Eintracht Frankfurt to Paris Saint-Germain. So that is a $97 million transfer, according to the news report I've just received.
Randall Kolo.
That's the one.
75 million, with the rest of it being on add-ons. This one to keep an eye on because it may be too late now, but Hugo Ekitike was heavily linked with West Ham if that deal went through, but I think it might be too much. The only way that will happen now is if it becomes a loan deal.
Yeah, so we'll keep you posted. Introducing also Abdi from our admin team. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. Hello. Not too bad. How are you doing?
All good, all good. Good to have you on this special show. And we will start with our special first guest. So we'll talk Tottenham, and joining us to discuss Tottenham's transfers is Tottenham fan Leighton. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not too bad, thank you.
Good to have you with us, Leighton. So let's kick off with Tottenham, and it's quite hard to not talk about Tottenham's transfers when the main transfer that happened is, of course, Harry Kane's transfer to Bayern Munich. So well, let's kick off with that first. I mean, how do you feel about that transfer, considering, you know, many people thought it was coming at some stage and it was going to come eventually. But as a Tottenham fan, what are your views on Kane's departure?
My views on it, yeah, it's sad to see a club legend go after breaking Jimmy Greaves' all-time record. But he needs to go to bigger and better things. He had a year left on his contract, and instead of running his contract down, which most people would have done, namely Eric Dyer, that's exactly what I think he's doing. Instead, he decided to get Spurs a fee while Spurs could. So, in hindsight, I think Spurs actually look a better team without him in some ways, because they're playing more as a team instead of relying on one player.
I will interrupt you quickly to give a score update. Marseille are playing Nantes in Ligue 1 in France, and obviously they're currently keeping in touch with Monaco very much at the top of the league. They are currently leading 1-0. Sorry, Leighton, carry on.
As I was saying, I am sad to see Harry Kane go, but he needs to go to bigger and better things. And I think as a result of the players that Spurs have brought in so far, James Maddison becoming the new number 10, I think Spurs look a little bit more creative. I think it's lacking a number 9. I don't think at the moment Richarlison's quite up to the task. I think he's suffering a major lack of confidence. But I think give him time, he might come good. But on what I've seen so far of Spurs this season, I've actually been quite impressed with the performances, barring what I saw against Fulham.
I mean, the Fulham performance is on a separate kind of story, because that's a trophy, and there can be some different shocks in the cup. What I want to ask you is more about Eric Dyer, the Eric Dyer situation. So there are rumors going around that basically Eric Dyer could go to Bayern on Harry Kane's recommendation, all that going on. And you said, obviously, that he's wanting to, prevent Daniel Levy from getting a fee for him, which, let's face it, a lot of people thought Harry Kane was going to do the same, wait out his contract and go on a free transfer. And that obviously has not happened. But, apparently Hugo Lloris might be doing the same. I'm not sure how true that is. However, what would be your view on Eric Dyer and Hugo Lloris? I mean, players like that, regardless of, what they can do and what they can't do, you can't have players like that at the club.
No, you can't, because I think that provides a toxic dressing room. Toxic on the training pitch, because those two have not been in the squads all season. Hugo Lloris, he's been at the club 10 years. He does want to go, but from what I've heard, he turned down a move to Lazio and a couple of other clubs because he doesn't want to be second choice. But from what I've heard today from a few reports, is that Hugo Lloris is actually considering retirement. As for Eric Dyer, he's open to leaving Tottenham on loan. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Burnley came in with a loan offer yesterday. He wanted it, but Spurs said, no, we want a fee. And Eric Dyer said he's having to go out on loan, but he doesn't want to leave on a permanent. I mean, I would let him go just to get him off the wage bill.
So when you said Hugo Lloris is considering retiring, is that from football in general, or from club football, or from international football?
Well, he retired from international football after the World Cup. So he's going to retire from football. He's considering retiring from football if no one comes in for him.
Okay, well, let's open it up to the rest of the panel then. I mean, headline Tottenham transfer is Harry Kane. Actually, before we go to that, there's one more transfer I want to run by you, Leighton, and that's Sergio Reguilon going on loan to Manchester United. We're actually going to get Abdi's view on Man United transfers very much in later segments. So what would you say, what's your view on Reguilon going to Man United? Is that a deal, from a Spurs fan, are you upset to see him go? Do you think he's a big loss to the club, or do you think it's not that much? It's not that bad.
I don't think it's that bad. I don't think he fits Ange's system. We got Destiny Udogie as our new left back. Ben Davies as cover, and I'm satisfied with those. I don't think Reguilon is good enough for Tottenham, to be fair. So again, I think it's one of those. Both Spurs and Man United are doing each other a favour. Man United need a left back due to the injury to Luke Shaw. There is a break clause where that loan deal can get terminated in January, and it gets Sergio Reguilon off the wage bill at least until January. And again, it frees up places in the squad, because what Spurs are lacking at the moment is they've got too many foreign players in the team. So they need to get a few English players in, or homegrown players.
So when it comes onto the homegrown players debate, how important is that in general? I mean, yes, there's rules on that. We know that. But, how important is it to a Tottenham fan to have as many homegrown players as possible? Or do you kind of not mind, as long as you've got good players? Do you not mind where they originate from, from a club fan point of view?
From a Spurs fan's point of view, it doesn't matter where the players come from, as long as they're good enough and willing to fight for that shirt. But I can understand why the homegrown rule is in, because it affects grassroots football. It also helps the English national team and even the home nations. So you might have players coming in from Wales. One that I'll talk about is Brennan Johnson. He's a homegrown player. It's not official yet, but he comes into that homegrown quota.
And speaking of Brendan Johnson, again, your opinion on that deal. How much of an asset will he be to the club and why?
I think Spurs are overpaying for him. From what I've heard, it's going to be 47.5 million plus a 10% sell-on clause. So if Spurs decide to sell, Spurs will get 10%. So I think that's very expensive. But if it comes off to be a good signing, that could also be money well spent. And from what I've heard in Angie's press conference, he is a player that he wanted. So I think that's one of those. Is he going to come straight into the first 11? I'm not sure, unless he puts Son up top, Kulusevski on the left, and then you have Johnson on the right.
So let's ask the all-important question, and you can be, you can take this whichever way you wish. You can take this question on, you've got a few hours of the window left, not many, but few hours. If there is players that you would still like to see Tottenham sign before the end of the window, we know Brendan Johnson is either done or pretty much there, nearly there. But if there are players you'd like to see Tottenham sign, who else would you like Tottenham to sign? You can either name a player, ideally name a player, or position if you can't think of a player.
Well, if Pierre-Emile Højbjerg leaves, which is looking increasingly unlikely, that'll free up a midfielder spot. So I think Conor Gallagher will be a good fit. Other than that, I would like to see Spurs sign another centre-back, but that depends on whether Sanchez or Dyer goes. Preferably both of them will go. But if I had to pick one of them, it would be Sanchez at the moment. But yeah, I think Spurs definitely do need a centre-back, just in case you get injuries to Christian Romero or Mickey van der Ven.
So looking at Conor Gallagher then, how would you feel if Spurs signed him? He did very well at Palace, and after that season, his reputation rocketed pretty much, and rightly so, because he performed very well. But then since he came back to Chelsea last season, he was not great. But then again, not many Chelsea players were. And this season, Chelsea in general are doing pretty well. How would you feel? Do you think Conor Gallagher would be a good signing in the end?
I think he will be, because I think he will fit Angie's system. And it will give competition for Pape Matar Sarr, but also at the same time, we've also got Rodrigo Bentancur coming back, but whether he comes back to the level he was before he got injured remains to be seen, because it was an ACL injury, and I think one of those could be very tricky to recover from completely. So I think it will give a lot of much-needed competition.
So last question I'll ask you before we go to Abdi and Giorgio to give their opinions on Tottenham. Do you think that if Tottenham don't replace Harry Kane, do you think that will be a big mistake from Levy to not reinvest that Kane money into a striker, proper striker, similar to Kane's quality? Or do you think Tottenham don't need to replace him just yet?
Well, the thing is, how can you replace the irreplaceable?
Is he replaceable?
Well,
Are there no strikers?
You can't get a player that does everything that Kane does. I mean, Kane was once in a generation. I would have liked to have seen Spurs sign an out-and-out experienced number 9. We have signed a young Argentinian earlier in the window. I was surprised that Dane Scarlett went out on loan, because I think he could have been a useful squad player. If things don't work out with Richarlison by January, I think Spurs will go into the market and sign a striker. But at the moment, I'm not panicking, because some can play there if Richarlison doesn't perform, and also Brendan Johnson can play there. But I think we've signed him more as a right winger.
And with Son, if he gets injured, then you are in trouble. But the point you mentioned there particularly, and okay, this is not the January transfer window special, but there's the striker that you are certainly rumored to sign in January, and Arsenal have been sniffing too, is Ivan Toney. Now, this, looking at Tony's age, looking at his current, his training and such, but he's not playing. Would you be happy if Tottenham signed Ivan Toney in January?
Yes, I would be very happy if Spurs signed Ivan Toney, but there's one player that I'm surprised Spurs didn't go for who we were linked with, and that is Ghent striker Gift Orban.
Now, that is an interesting player, to be honest, because he's not been talked about that much when it comes to Spurs, which is quite interesting.
There was a lot of rumours going around when Harry Kane left.
Why do you think Tottenham have not gone for him?
Well, I heard something today. I think it could well be to do with his attitude when it comes to training.
Yeah, we can talk about attitude with certain signings made. Shame we don't have Palace fans here. It would have been interesting to hear about Dean Henderson, but it's something we will discuss, I imagine, between 11 o'clock and midnight, because I want to talk about some transfers that might not be discussed in the main segment. So let's throw this out to the other chaps then. So Tottenham transfers. Abdi, talk to me. You've heard what Leighton said. You've heard his points. Give us a response.
Where to start from really with Tottenham? I feel like let me start with the manager first, and then build it up. Ange Postecoglou, I think he's a good manager coming in, and he can do a decent job, and he has been doing it
quickly. Borussia Dortmund halftime lead Heidenheim 2-0 in the Bundesliga.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like he's so far doing a decent job. And he's a good manager to sort of build with and take Tottenham forward, because their last few managers were trying to be successful now rather than building for the future. And I'd say that the last three were more pragmatic managers, whereas Ange is more attacking, front foot, and free-flowing football, really. I've heard when he was linked to Tottenham, some Tottenham fans weren't having it too much, and I was like, I'll just give him a chance. I feel like he'll be decent. Now, I'm not saying it will be perfect and that Tottenham will become a top club, win the Premier League and all that stuff. But I will say it will get them back on track and get them playing to maybe somewhat, I can't say yet, but somewhere close-ish to how they were playing under Pochettino, because under Pochettino they were a regular top four club, and a couple years even somewhat pushing for the title in a way, but not really in a way as well. And then also the Champions League run as well. So yeah, I feel like in Ange they've got a decent manager, decent signing so far. Udogie looks class at left back. Van der Ven, he looks okay from what I've seen so far, but Maddison's the real highlight and standout player in terms of that Tottenham squad, the person that they needed for the longest time in terms of creativity. They didn't really have someone like that outside of Harry Kane, because Harry Kane had to do everything by himself since probably Christian Eriksen days. When he was at his peak at Tottenham. So yeah, James Maddison.
I would have to agree with you with that one, Abdi, because when Eriksen left, Spurs never replaced him until now.
Yeah, pretty much. As for Harry Kane departing from Tottenham, it's the best for everyone, really. I wish that he had gone to United, but the only issue is Daniel Levy is a very tough man and stubborn man to try and deal with. So there wasn't really any point in us wasting our time. So he had to leave to go to Bayern, which is kind of ironic now because we're going to have to face Harry Kane in the UCL. So there's that. But yeah, I feel like that'll be a good move for him, and he will thrive because he was doing in the Premier League, so he can do it in the Bundesliga, and he's going to be fed chances by likes of Musiala, Muller, Sane, Kimmich, all of them lot, Davis. So yeah, I think Harry Kane will be okay. As for Tottenham, I think they'll be okay as well because just because they've lost Harry Kane, you can't. I agree with Blaine. You can't really replace Harry Kane. No matter who you try and bring in, it's going to be hard to replace someone of that kind of quality and at that level. So Madison for me doing his thing, helping the team in terms of like you need to rely more on a collective rather than one person. So Son needs to step up, Kulusevski needs to step up, Solomon when he gets a chance needs to chip in with some goals. Richarlison, you need to sort of put on your boots, big man, and show why you get picked for Brazil because you don't show it at club level, but you do show at the international level. So you need to find that all your Everton days because you still could get 10 goals at least this season. So in the league that is. So yeah, I feel like it needs to be more of a collective effort for Tottenham in terms of trying to find goals. But in terms of attacking wise, they tend to be looking better than they were last season. And it has been that way in a way since like when Harry Kane doesn't play. If you remember the UCL run that they had before when Kane was injured, Son really stepped up and Tottenham sort of looked like a better side in a way without that focal point of Harry Kane, because it just allowed them to sort of be more fluid. But yeah, Tottenham, I feel like they should be okay this season and have a better season. I'm not sure if they will be top four quite yet because I feel like there are other teams who have better squads and have a better chance and sort of playing style. It's still the first season for Ange, so who knows? I feel like keep an eye on Tottenham because they could potentially sneak into the top four. I'm not going to rule them out whatsoever. But
What about the top five? Because top five gets Champions League this season.
even
It
top
could get
five,
Champions League,
yeah,
yes. It
even
depends.
even even top
I
five,
think
I'd
I
say
think
it'd be a bit tough for Tottenham
I think
because it's very tough right now.
I think Conference League at a push at the moment.
And
Okay.
I'd say Europa is what you should be aiming for at least, at a minimum. But yeah.
Okay. Just to give you an update, we do have another guest who has joined us who will come in after 8:30 to discuss Arsenal. So we're going to introduce him in a minute. But George, do you have anything to say that has not been mentioned in regards to Tottenham?
Yeah, but I won't be able to fit it into about 5 minutes, so I'll try to brief it. I agree with Leighton. Conference League is probably best that they can hope for. I think there's better teams than Tottenham at the minute. It'd be interesting to see how Spurs do when they go on a bit of a dodgy run of form, which they will do, because every club does. I think best signing for them has been Maddison, obviously. I think Brennan Johnson will be a quality signing for them. He'll take Richarlison's spot because Richarlison's not good enough. I don't see Tottenham signing Ivan Toney. I think Tony's got better aspirations than that. I think he'd want to sign for somewhere. I could see him if United hadn't bought the striker they've got. I could see him there or at Arsenal. I agree with Abdi. Kane all round was the best thing to happen. I don't think Tottenham will sign anyone else today. Eric Dyer and Hugo Reece are not going anywhere, apparently, according to Romano. I don't know what else to say, really. But Ange is doing all right for Spurs. That's the most you're going to get out of me from that.
No, that's fair enough. So before we end the Tottenham segment, George, give us, have you had any transfer news breaking in the last half an hour?
A deal that is not happening 100% now is Joao Palhinha. I feel really sorry for him.
You're not, damn.
He flew all the way out to Portugal, Germany, sorry.
Yeah.
And passed his medical. And then Bayern Munich and Fulham said, hold on, no, deal's off, go back home.
Yeah, 'cause
Um,
I think that deal
Ooh.
was dependent on
or,
Højbjerg going to Fulham, but he
I've
turned down Fulham.
it's more,
um I've got
more
something to share with you.
uh,
Sorry, George, stepping on toes here, but it is relevant because it's Tottenham. Tottenham approached Chelsea for Trevor Chalobah on loan, apparently. So yeah, that should be an interesting one. Apparently, it's going to be difficult due to the final and few hours of the window. So we shall see how that one progresses.
That'd be interesting because, at the moment you've got Axel Disasi, who's kind of doing what I can see Trevor Chalobah doing. So that might open the door for Trevor Chalobah. Whether I want to
Yeah.
do it to Tottenham is an issue we will not discuss.
Forest are also
before
trying to get him on a
9 o'clock.
permanent though. So
I think that's quite interesting. I mean, Trevor Chalobah's not getting a game at Chelsea, so you can't blame him for wanting to leave. So yes, thank you, George, for the updates. So Leighton, thank you very much for talking to us about Tottenham. Now you are more than welcome to stay for the rest of the show, and we'll get you involved where you can. And that goes for every guest. If you wish to stay beyond your segment, you're more than welcome to. And if we can come to you on other transfers, we will try to. But if not, and you wish to leave, you're more than welcome to, and you can listen to the show as well. You can go and watch the show. So it is up to you. People can.
I might jump back on later on.
Absolutely, Leighton, jump on whenever I'm operating the meetings room. So yeah, if you feel to hop out and in, and we'll see what happens. Thank you, Leighton. Right. So we move on to discussing our next segment, and we will talk Arsenal, of course. And Arsenal were one of the headlining clubs, certainly of the transfer window. And we have some guests, some extra guests to join us to talk about it. So, of course, we have George, who you might have gotten a slight inkling throughout our shows that he might be an Arsenal fan. Tricky to tell, tricky. But we also have Jonesy, the man behind all our graphics and the man behind some of the production in the early days as well. Jonesy, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, guys? All right?
Good to have you,
What's
mate.
up, man?
Oh, good to have you. Good to see you again. And another guest who's been on our shows a few times, Ray Cassim. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me all right?
Yep, you are sounding loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
All right, Ray.
Perfect. Yeah, all good. How is everyone?
Bro.
Oh, good, Ray. Good to have you. Good to see you back. You haven't been on for a while, so we're glad to have you back on this very special show. So yes, if you share the links out, people share the links. If you're watching and you want other people to watch, tell your friends we're on. So yes, let's discuss Arsenal, and we're going to start with George, of course, being our admin. And there's many transfers for Arsenal, and I would like you to reflect on all of them, or as many of them as you can. But we do have an hour, and we need to fit in every other guest too. So tell us, first of all, Declan Rice. What a signing! You've been chasing him for a while, and you've paid an amount of money that not many people thought Arsenal would pay.
Yeah, Declan Rice for me, like probably be one of the signings of the summer. But I'm biased, obviously. I just think when he's going to be taking that number 6 role, I think that I know we've got Partey at the minute when he's not playing in bloody right back. But I think Rice is. I think you know how good Rice is when the West Ham fans get salty and say, "Oh, he weren't that good anyway." So, but that's how you know how good Rice is. Am I surprised we spent that money? A little bit. But I suppose you have to pay what you've got to do to get the player, haven't you? So when it comes to Rice, like me and Jonesy saw him play at Wembley and he against Man City, and it was absolutely brilliant. So I'm quite excited about Rice. I'm hopefully going to see Partey and Rice build that partnership in that midfield, and it's nice to have a player that rejects other top teams for us as well.
So let's move on to and one of your other signings as well. And I do feel quite sorry for Timber here because he's picked up a terrible injury. But as a signing, hopefully he'll get back fit. But as a signing, what were your thoughts on Timber?
I've been banning on about Timber for a while since United nearly signed him last season. I was kind of glad they signed Martinez instead of Timber. But I think it's quality. I think that the sad thing is Arsenal's transfer window would have been an 8 or a 9 out of 10. With him getting that injury, it knocks it down a bit. I think he's going to be a huge loss. But fingers crossed he will come back stronger. Apparently he's ahead of recovery already. So there's a chance he could be back mid-February, early March. So if that's the case, he can come back just to watch us win the title.
Well, the positive mindset, it's not often what you see from Arsenal fans, so it's nice to hear that. Another signing that I want you to talk about, and you've had a lot to say on it, which is excellent. It's David Raya from Brentford. So, this was discussed a little bit during our predictions show, and it was an interesting one because a lot of people thought, is Raya going to sign to Arsenal to be the second choice goalkeeper? Really? There was doubts on that. And I was like, will he dethrone Ramsdale? It would be harsh on Ramsdale because he's been great. What's your views on that?
At first, I thought you were going to talk about my boy Kai Havertz. I've had a lot to say about him.
Oh, he's later. He's later. Do not worry.
With David Raya, I've had this conversation with loads of different football fans. I don't understand where the conversation is. He's going to dethrone Ramsdale. They're both two quality goalkeepers, so they're probably going to bring the best out in each other. I understand people say, it might not work, but just because it don't work at other clubs don't mean it won't with us. At the end of the day, at one stage, Leno and Martinez were both number one goalkeepers. And Martinez overtook Leno. Right, it might lead to one of them leaving in the future, but David Raya's 27. Ramsdale's still only like 23, 24, so he's still young for a goalkeeper. I just think they'll bounce off each other. With Ramsdale having the character he has, I just think he'll want to be pushed. Like, if you're at work and someone comes in who you think who's apparently as good as you at your job, you don't say, I'm going to leave now. You push yourself to become better. So, I don't know. I think Raya is a good sign. I think Raya will be the cup goalkeepers from now. Don't get me wrong, I can't wait to see David Raya instead of watching Renarson in the Carabao Cup. Like that, and there was reasons I was glad I was blind, and Renarson's one of them. But Raya, I think he'll push Ramsdale because Ramsdale will know now that if he makes any mistakes, he'll be on the bench. And I thought that's what every successful club would want for all their players, really.
Yeah, some healthy competition. And like you said, I think, a young keeper like Ramsdale could always learn something of Raya, and technically Raya could probably learn from Ramsdale. So both goalkeepers could learn off each other. Now, you did mention Kai Havertz. Let's talk about Kai Havertz, shall we? Signed by Chelsea as a very big concept, It was a prospect. It was supposed to go so well. And okay, compared to Timo Werner, he maybe was just about the better signing, but that's marginal. So, I think everyone's confused about Kai Havertz going to Arsenal, but as to why. But what do you think about the signing of Kai Havertz?
I will say I'll give him credit. He's done well to be hated by a lot of our fan base already before kicking the ball properly. I don't understand how fans can get on a player's case who's just signed. Surely you're meant to support the players. Do I think he's worth 60 to 65 million? No, but then I don't think a lot of players are worth what they're going for today. Like even Markson from Chelsea, I don't think he's 34 million. But I don't think actually Kai Havertz is a bad player. I think the positions he gets in, to create those chances and miss those chances, you have to be in that position. I don't think he knows his right position. I think that's where the issue is. He's not he's not good enough or strong enough to play in that 8 role for Arsenal. So for me, like now, I'd be starting him off the bench and then bringing him on. Like he's a different option. If you haven't got Jesus or I can't believe I'm saying this, Nketiah, but you've got Havertz to bring on. Like, I really don't think he's as bad as everyone makes him sound. But yeah, most of what the bad stuff I'm hearing are from people who probably don't have a clue. So hopefully Havertz can turn around and prove a lot of people wrong.
Yeah, it would be quite interesting. So before I throw it over to Jonesy and Ray, are there any other Arsenal transfers you particularly thought were a highlight of your window?
Apart from Rob Holding.
Well, I actually, under the heading unmentioned transfers, Rob Holding is there because of a rumour. I think it's a rumour. I don't know if it's actually been confirmed that I've heard where he might be going to Palace.
He's gone to Palace.
Is that officially confirmed now?
Basically, yeah. 4 million. I won't be too disrespectful. Like, it's thanks for the memories.
I'll give you an update before West Ham have scored. It's Luton 0, West Ham 1, a goal scored by Jared Bowen.
I'm surprised there.
They'll think they're going to win now.
They have an issue with right wingers.
Yeah. So Holding, I'll give him a lot of credit. Like, he's been there for a while. He's won 2 FA Cups, played a while. He's well known for his favourite comment, but he just wasn't good enough. And this is what does make me laugh. Like, the amount of Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, get rid of Holding, he's crap." And then when we sell him for 4 million, oh well, we should have got more for Holding. Well, what is it? Like, he's either that bad that you want him out of the club, or you keep hold of him and try and get a bit more. And not many people are going to pay big money for players. Like, you look at even the little clubs now, they've got great players. Like West Ham have got Kudos, Tottenham have got Maddison, you've got
Little clubs.
Brighton have got Fatty. Like, so, like Nottingham Forest.
Just to say, the Bowen goal was assisted by Lucas Paquetá.
I bet you put a bet on that. Anyway, so.
No,
but
Tony did.
Yeah. But yeah, even Nottingham Forest, if the deal goes through today, the PSV midfielder they're buying, he's a quality player. So, and that's the only thing I wish Arsenal would be better at, is buying, like getting more for their fringe players. But you know what? Good luck. Holding's probably, his level is probably like Palace. So.
Just to give you another score update, Nantes have equalised against Marseille in the French Liga. And so, Rob Holding was talked about. Let's throw it over to our guests then, shall we? Let's start with Jonesy then. So you've heard George speak about Rice, Havertz, Raya, and Rob Holding as well. What are your views on these players and any other transfers George didn't mention? Is there any other things that may have been a highlight for you in the Arsenal transfer window?
For me, Rice, as he's come in and looks like he's been there for years already. He's come from the European Super Champions of the Galaxy, the way they go on Twitter. But yeah, he looks like he's slotted in really well. It'd be nice to see him play with actually Partey in the middle. I think we saw it briefly, didn't we, at Man City and the first half of Forest. But yeah, a good run of them two in the middle, and they should cement a great partnership and be a force in the Premier League. It's probably the best midfield with Odegaard in there as well. For me, Timber's a huge loss. I mean, it looked like all our play was going to go through Timber. He was going to be that man that, like Zinchenko does on the left, inverts into midfield. And we just looked like such a threat when he was on the ball, especially that first half against Forest. And to lose him is just a bit, I don't know, it's put maybe a bit of a spanner in the works for Arteta and his plans. I mean, we haven't got a right back in. We're going to go with what we've got. If that's Partey at right back, hopefully not on Sunday because Rashford will cook him. But yeah, I just hope, we've got enough. I just worry that we didn't get enough covering, even if it was someone on loan. I was looking at that Cancelo deal and I just thought we could have hijacked that just for a cover. But I know City probably wouldn't have given it to us. Cedric's still there, so I don't know. It's a tough one to say because I just don't feel we got enough at the back, especially as cover-wise. But time will tell. I'm not the manager, so we'll see. With regards to Havertz, I love Havertz, to be fair. I know he's lacking so much confidence in his play. He's come from a team like Chelsea, and this is no disrespect to you, but it was a disjointed club, and he just didn't fit in there, it looked like, and he was totally lost at times. The thing that gets me is we haven't seen Havertz play with Jesus yet, and I think that's the A game. That's what Arteta's brought him for. He's brought him to play with Jesus. He's brought him to play with other party in the middle as well. It's just we haven't seen that yet as Arsenal fans. They just need to relax. It does wind me out. I'm sure Ray and George will agree. There's a certain fan channel that will love to jump on anyone's back as soon as they put in.
Leave Golden Goal TV alone. All right.
No, not you guys. But yeah, just give him time. Time will tell. Arteta, we've got trust in him. Let's just see what he plays like when we have a full team. Process. Exactly. Just see what happens. David Raya is a brilliant signing, if you ask me. If anybody moans and complains that you've got 2 top quality goalkeepers, you need a slap. Because we saw it towards the back end of last season. Ramsdale had his issues, and that was, non-football related. But you need a goalie sometimes who can take the emotion out of the game, and I think Raya can do that. He's got the experience. He's a Spanish international. He's capped over David De Gea. Where's he now? I don't know. But yeah, he's capped over him.
On holiday, bro.
Where's he gone?
He's on holiday.
Is he on holiday?
Free
He's
agent.
for anyone.
No, he's not. He's not signed.
He's chilling. But yeah, it'd be great to see him in there. Like I say, they're going to bounce off each other. They'll only bring out the best in each other. And when times comes, like I say, back end of the season, we're up there again. Maybe you just need a different set of goalie, like a different goalie in between the sticks, just to bring a bit of calm. Because Ramsdale can be a bit, I won't say impetulant. He's young, isn't he? He's going to make mistakes, and that's no fault of him. That we've got 2 young goalkeepers. We're going to have to learn from that, but they can learn together, which is great. And then who else did we get? Yeah, that's it really. To be fair, I would have liked us to get cover for a right winger, but we've got Pepe, so hopefully he's a new signing. He's going to light up the Premier League. It'd be good to see him, give him a run out, see what happens. You never know. Sometimes these players could come back and the point to prove. I know he had a chat with Arteta or something, a meeting, and he turned down the team he was going to or something along them lines. So maybe he's had a change of heart. Maybe he's going to put in some performances. We'll see. But as far as Rob Holding goes, I didn't like him. I made no qualms about not liking him. I thank him for his services over the years, don't get me wrong, but I'm just glad we won't see him in an Arsenal shirt coming up against Haaland again. That's what I'm happy about. Yep, that's me.
Thank you, Jonesy. Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty good and quite interesting. So, Ray, we'll go to you then. Give us your reflections on the players Arsenal have signed, and do you think Arsenal have signed enough? And of course, as well, what else would you like to see?
Yeah, I think our signings that we have brought in have been good. I think Declan Rice, as the guys mentioned, looks really, really settled already. I think he's had a couple of man of the match performances already, and just looks so comfortable in our team. He's going to be crucial to what we do going forward. So I believe all the players we brought in are going to be linked to Declan Rice. He's the absolute linchpin of what we're going to be doing moving forward. So in terms of bringing in players like Havertz and whoever else in that midfield, Declan Rice is absolutely crucial to not only his own performance, but also their performance and how the team will be set up. So I'm really pleased with that. I'm also low-key pleased that Chelsea have gone and bought more expensive players. Now Declan Rice isn't the most expensive player and midfielder. I think that actually takes a little bit of pressure off him. And now he can just go on and play his stuff. Obviously, he's a £100 million footballer, so he's always going to have a heavy amount of pressure on him. But we're talking a game of fine margins and marginal gains, aren't we? So I think in the overall grand scheme of things, that might work in our favour. I really liked the Jurrien Timber signing. I thought he looked out of all our signings, probably the best in pre-season. And it's gutting that he got injured in the first match and that he's basically going to miss the entirety of the season. He was so comfortable anywhere in the back line. He has a lot of pace. He can read the game incredibly well, in my opinion. We haven't seen him up against a big sort of sort of bruising player yet, with a lot of speed and ability. So we can't really judge him in terms of that, like a sort of Haaland or someone like that, or a Rashford. But what we have seen so far, I thought he was outstanding. So we will miss him. Hopefully he can get fully recovered and be back as soon as. It has left us in a bit of a pickle in terms of what we're going to do defensive wise. As Jonesy said, I think in terms of the right back situation, we're kind of going with what we've got. So Ben White, I've got no issues with at all. Tomiyasu, I like. I think again, fitness has always been his problem, but when he is fit, he's always been quality for us. And we're trying Thomas Partey in this position. So far, it hasn't worked. I don't know if it will work, but listen, Arteta and his coaching staff are a lot more intelligent when it comes to football compared to myself. So they get my full support. And until it definitely isn't working, let's just back him 100%. Who else we got? We got Kai Havertz. I actually quite like this one, and I didn't to begin with. And I think a lot of people have been put off with the performances. I weirdly think I'm gone the opposite way, and I actually think it's really encouraging. I know he's missed a lot of chances, and I know there's been a few moments where you've sort of had your head in your hands as a Gooner, but he is getting in the positions. He is making himself available. He does add a physical presence into our midfield. He also adds height as well, which I think is very important. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, with Declan Rice in there and building more relationships with Ødegaard and Saka, Martinelli, and as Jonesy alluded to, if Jesus can stay fit and he can start building some relationships there with him, I think that'd be really, really great for us. And yeah, I think, he just adds a different dimension to what we can do. I was someone that for 4 or 5 seasons had no idea what Granit Xhaka's position was. I didn't know what type of midfielder he was, and I just didn't rate him. What I then learned is that actually you put him in a certain position, in a certain system, with a certain way of playing, and actually he can look pretty decent. So I'm prepared to give Kai Havertz the same thought process there. And yeah, let's just see how he gets on. Like I say, it's a big signing for us. It's a lot of money. I think George mentioned that 65 million was probably over the top, and I would have to agree. But we've done it. We've paid the transfer fee. He's an Arsenal player, so hopefully he can get more and more acclimatized and more comfortable in this team. And I think it will work. But it is a transfer that Arteta will either live or die by. And yeah, David Raya, really, really good bit of business. I'm seeing a lot of clever loan deals at the moment. Players you're thinking, how the hell did they get them on loan? And I think David Raya falls into that category. I believe he signed a contract extension for a year with Brentford and then has come on loan to us. So if for whatever reason it doesn't work, Brentford are basically in the same situation they're in now. So they can either cash in or keep him for an extra season. I think it's 27 million, if I'm right in thinking, that we paid about that. Yeah. So if we activate that, 30 million for a top goalkeeper, I think is really great business. As the boys alluded to earlier, I think he can really push Aaron Ramsdale to be better himself, because he knows that as soon as he makes a mistake, all of a sudden his place is under threat, whereas he didn't have that pressure in the last couple of seasons, really. And And yeah, I just think it's a great signing, as we mentioned, Spanish international. And yeah, I think he also adds a different dimension to how we can play. So yeah, with him, I'm really pleased. As for the outgoings, I know we've sort of touched on them a little bit. So I think players like Nuno Tavares, he had to go. It's good that he's got another chance in the Premier League. I'm pleased for Rob Holding. I think, again, a player that I haven't disliked or anything. I just think we've moved on from. So to go to a team like Palace, yeah, good luck to him, except when they play us, obviously. And yeah, I think we do need to get rid of some more players. I think some of our sales have been a bit weird in terms of the transfer fees we've commanded. But we've never really been great at selling at Arsenal. So that's something we need to improve on further down the line. And yeah, I think overall, I think it's okay. I don't think it's a disaster. I think some Arsenal fans might sort of go off the handle a little bit and tell you, we've got no chance this season. I generally think we still got a fantastic chance. It's just all about keeping our players fit and everything clicking into place. But it's Arsenal, and that doesn't normally happen.
Thank you, Ray. Also, so I'm going to ask each of you Arsenal fans to name me something here. So I want to know if basically something could be done in the next 2 hours or so, which at this point would be quite a miracle. If there's one more player you want to see Arsenal sign, who is it, George?
If it had to be a defender, I'd probably say something that realistically could happen is probably someone like a Kyle Walker-Peters, because he can play right and left back, and we could probably get him on loan. Because defenders-wise, I don't think we need to actually buy a defender. It's just having cover. Because we've got a young 18-year-old called Waters who's basically meant to be the next best thing. So, but I think that's the only reason we've not bought anyone. So, but from January onwards, there's only one position I feel like we need to fix probably, and that's up front. But I'll be taking Ivan Toney every single day of the week. Okay,
Jonesy, same question to you.
Yeah, big cover at the back, just that right back position, and maybe left back as well. Just someone who can play both. Kyle Walker-Peters is a great shout. There's not much left, is there? It's like you're shopping for a bargain in the review section. So there's maybe someone on loan. Personally, I would love Class from Marseille if we could grab him, but that's not going to happen in the last couple of hours. But yeah, and then January, the striker, Ivan Toney, he'll be back. He's already said, Arsenal or Liverpool, so we shouldn't wait or beat around the bush, or, we should just get in there and grab him. Then we can have say Jesus gets an injury. We've got another striker who's willing to come in, and still Eddie as well, who's, I must say he's had a brilliant start to the season, fully deserved England call up. He's been highly critical Arsenal fans of him, rightly so, but he's doing well. You can't dispute. He's always there. He comes on when needed, scores us important goals, and hopefully gets another one on Sunday.
Okay, Ray, the same question.
Yeah, the boys have made all good shouts, to be honest. It's probably unrealistic. I would like Mazraoui from Bayern Munich. I think he's a bit like Kyle Walker-Peters, can play left and right back, but is a significant upgrade, in my opinion. Very similar to Jurrien Timber. However, he can't really play in the centre, so you then have to look at moving Ben White or Tomiyasu into centre back, in my opinion. But yeah, I think he's a great shout. I don't think the striker market is particularly great, so whatever we're getting, we're just going to be spending a lot of money and just hoping it works. So yeah, Tony's a great shout for January, but let's see what happens with that. I'd also like the look of Evan Ferguson at Brighton, but I think if we was to do something like that, that would be next season.
Thank you, Ray. Just to give you a few score updates, Dortmund have conceded, so they lead Heidenheim 2-1, and AC Milan, who are still hoping to maintain their 100% record in their third game of Serie A, are 2-0 up against AS Roma. So there we go. Now that finishes our Arsenal segment. Quicker than I thought, to be fair, but it's great to hear from you guys, passionate Arsenal fans, and it's very interesting to hear different views on your perspective. So same goes to you, Ray and Jonesy. You're more than welcome to stay for however long you want, and we will see if we can get you involved on the other segments. George, before I move us on, as we've got an extra half an hour, we will cover Chelsea next. But before I move us on to that, any breaking deals or deal potentials?
I don't know if we've got someone from clubs watching the show, because as soon as Jonesy mentioned Cedric,
oh yes,
there's a lot of talk from Portuguese newspapers, because their transfer window doesn't shut yet, that Porto and Benfica have got offers waiting for Cedric. So I don't know if they're loans or actual permanents, but mate, I'm going to Portugal. He can borrow my passport if he wants. And
it doesn't matter if they're loans or permanents. Just see you later, Cedric.
Like I said on Twitter today, I appreciate walking the dog. I think that's as far as it goes. I don't really see what else he offers us. Apart from that, Alex Iwobi basically to Fulham is done. That's a weird one for me. Not weird because of the deal. I'm sure he's Everton's best player, and they've sold him to Fulham. It just shows basically how much of a mess Everton are.
They're playing for the drop.
Well, yeah. You know what?
I hope so.
They'll probably sack Dyche just before they're going to play us. So.
Yeah, probably.
Any other deals? There isn't anything that official. Like what Abdi said, that Trevor Chalobah's being spoke about going to Tottenham. I don't see that happening. Just because Chelsea and Spurs hate each other. That's the whole reason that Conor Gallagher wasn't ever going to go there. So, but I don't know. Some crazy things happen, don't they? And apparently, the rumour is that Julian Draxler's on his way to McDonald's at Holloway Road. Apart from that, there's
would pick a better place. Now, this is actually, you've reminded me of one thing I forgot. Now, of course, we want to discuss legitimate transfers and legitimate rumours and stuff like that. However, we do want to have a laugh too. So, if there's anyone out there watching and you want to put in a fake transfer report, as long as you make it clear, so we don't actually kind of spread it as a genuine event, we want to hear your funny transfer rumors. So, what can you think of? Has someone been spotted, at a ridiculous location? Is a player spotted at Luton Parkway railway station heading to Luton to be the next big signing? Anything like that, anything that you can think of. If it's fake and you want to make us laugh, go for it. The funnier, the better. Don't make it lame. We don't want it. Thank you, people. We had 3 extra people watching as well, so thank you very much. Feel free to sound off in the comments too. We would love to hear from you what you think of what we're talking about and what else is coming in. So let's then touch on Chelsea, which I want to briefly talk about before we move on to talking Man United and Liverpool in half an hour. So I want to talk about Chelsea and their transfer. We couldn't get any Chelsea fans on, so you're stuck with me instead. I'm sorry.
You're a Chelsea fan?
Hey?
You're a Chelsea fan?
Yes. You seem surprised.
Yeah, no, I thought you were a Luton fan, but...
We're about to lose Abdi. He has to leave us. Yes, no, when it comes to Chelsea's transfer window, I think I'm not going to say anything that will surprise people who have known what I said in Golden Goal Group, on WhatsApp, and on even some of our shows as well. Our transfer window, we've made headlines for the same thing as always, spending money. And as I told many people, including train station staff, that Todd Bowley's method to solve a problem is spend money, and if that doesn't work, spend more money. Never mind on what. He can buy a McDonald's and probably think he's doing a great thing, but not actually sign players. So let's look at a few players, few highlights. Losing Havertz, I don't know if that's a bad thing. It's tricky to say. I really wish he had better time at Chelsea. I think he came to the club at the wrong time. And I really wish he had a better time at Chelsea because he's a quality player. And when I watched him play for Bayern Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, I think he was really good. I believe that's where he played. And I really rated him. So I wanted him to do well. Looking at a player like Nicholas Jackson, who I personally have not heard of. We've not heard of much when he joined. I think he's turning out to be a decent up-and-coming player who can certainly have a lot of potential. And I think that's brilliant to see. Looking at Axel Disasi, he's an interesting signing. He has been signed purely because of the injury to Wesley Fofana, who, again, I feel really sorry for, because the last few seasons for Leicester and Chelsea, he's missed because of a pretty much season-ending injuries who took him out for most of the season, if not the whole season. So Disasi is good. I can't help thinking, like I said earlier, that I think what he's doing is something Trevor Chalobah was doing already. So was it really necessary when we already had a good player in that position? I would say it wasn't, but hey-ho, we've signed him. We will see what happens. Losing players, transfer of Kovacic. He's an older player, but he's experienced, and I think he did really well for us. Why we sold him to our big title, we're not title rivals, but big league rivals. Why we sold him to a team that's fighting to win the league for the 4th season consecutively, I don't know. Yeah, we may not be anywhere near a title race, but we should have kept hold of Kovacic, I think, and it's a goddamn shame we didn't. I think we've all noticed the one player who we've not really signed a striker as such, which is a bit of a shame, but what can you do? You roll on and hope that the players we have signed do well, and we do have players that are doing pretty well, that have been there, like Raheem Sterling. He's doing well. Levi Colwell signing a new contract. We'll see how well he does. Cole Palmer, which is the most recent signing, of course, that we signed from Manchester City. Great player, I'm not going to lie. He's an attacking midfielder. Now, as you all know, midfielders is what Chelsea are crying out for at the moment. We simply do not have enough, and we need more midfielders.
Too much.
So, yes, exactly. But where in the position he plays, I've heard people say we might actually need him. So it will be interesting to see how Cole Palmer does, in my opinion, to be honest. The player I would like us to sign, but I don't think we will sign him. We were certainly linked with him a while back when Pochettino first started, but it never came through to anything. Is Victor Osimhen from Napoli? Osimhen, Victor Osimhen, who I thought, if there's one player I wanted us to sign straight away when the transfer window opened, I wanted us to have him. I thought he was my kind of one of these players that immediately jumped out at me as a kind of a signing. Bring him in. He would be brilliant. So yeah, bad transfer window, I wouldn't say so. Good transfer window, I wouldn't say so either. But we're not doing too badly at the moment. Do we spend too much money? Yes. Do a lot of clubs spend too much money though? Yes. I think, yes, we do make a bad name for ourselves by the amount of money we spend. But let's remember that the reason these clubs spend that money is because there are loopholes that allow for this to happen. I had a discussion with people who were moaning about Chelsea giving players 9-year contracts or whatever. And yeah, that's that. We know why that happens. We know why they do it, because of FFP, and there's a loophole that allows them to do it. Now, this is my problem. If these loopholes are there, can you blame clubs for taking advantage of them? If this shouldn't be happening, then the appropriate things should be done for that loophole to not be there. And the fact that it is in itself something that doesn't help. So I think if you want to improve the transfer window, I think what needs to be looked at by the various governing bodies is the transfer loopholes that are there in the already existing rule book. And then if that still doesn't sort things out, that's a different story. But the transfer window, we've seen the amounts that are being thrown around in this transfer window, and we were saying in 2017 when PSG signed Neymar, that the transfer window was going to completely head for a disaster. And I think this season, because of the amounts that spent, is the same thing happening, to be honest. So, there is rumors that Saudis could bid 200 million for Mo Salah by the end of the transfer window. It hasn't happened yet. But, you do wonder what's going to happen. So, truthfully, my opinion on the Chelsea transfer window is this. We've spent a lot more money than we should have, and we've probably still not invested in the area we need most. Do I think it's been a bad transfer window? Not particularly, though. We've signed some good players. Do I think it's been a good one? No, but we roll on and we move on. All right, we're about to let in another guest as well, who I'll let in a minute. But I want to give a chance to people as well to give their opinions if they wish to on Chelsea, since we're all in.
I was just going to ask a question, if that's
Go on.
right.
I've got a question as well.
Okay, we'll start with Ray.
After that. Do you think Todd Boehly is either very naive or a complete genius in terms of discovering these loopholes and actually acting upon them? Because there are 19 other clubs in the Premier League, and I refuse to believe that Chelsea are the only club that have discovered these, and the other 19 clubs haven't acted on these particular deals or structuring deals in this way. So, is it Todd Boehly being new to English Premier League football and just sort of being too overexcited and just sort of throwing money? Or is he actually, in your opinion, is he actually doing something genius? And is it likely that the rest of the league may follow, providing obviously that the Premier League don't sort of clamp down on it?
Well, it's actually a very interesting question, Ray. In which case, because I've got plenty to say on Todd Boehly. Now, is he an evil genius? Not particularly, because if you look at it, these loopholes are there. You just need to know where to look for them. Does it take a genius? Well, not really, because you just need to be able to read, in my opinion, and know where to read. And I think it's either him that can do it or other people can. Can other 19 clubs do it, or many other clubs in Europe? Of course they can. And I think there's many other loopholes that maybe not Premier League clubs, apart from Manchester City, have taken advantage of to avoid either FFP rules or 115 charges. But I think the loopholes are. There's been a goal in the West Ham game. It's now Luton 0, West Ham 2. So goal scorer to come. But yeah, it's 2-0 West Ham at the moment. Can someone, I think, Dan, can you mute yourself? I don't know if it's your TV in the background or someone else's.
No, I was already on mute, so it must be something else in the background.
So let's answer your other question. Let me tell you the goal scorer for this goal. Anderson scored. Right. Let's answer your other. Anderson. And I don't know who scored.
Emerson,
not Anderson. Jesus.
Henderson.
All right.
Moving on to your other question, Ray. Do I think Todd Boehly's naive? Yes. I don't think Todd Boehly knows that much about football. To be honest, I mean, he's been quoted, and regardless of the reliability of the news sources that he was quoted in, he has been quoted to say that he's still trying to figure out how it all works a few months ago. And, when Chelsea were pretty much down in the dumps of hell when it comes to their form in the Champions League, when we were about to play Real Madrid, the Git comes out with and says, the goal has been disallowed by Emerson, so it's back to 1-0 West Ham. When we were about to play Real Madrid, he then goes, oh, another goal has come in. Dortmund, as always, love to drop points. They have conceded again. It's now 2-2 between Dortmund and Heidenheim in the Bundesliga, with 9 minutes plus added time to go. So when it comes to Todd Boehly, we were about to play Real Madrid, and he said, we'll beat them 3-0 at the point where I don't think anyone would have given us a 3-0 loss minimum. So I don't think Todd Boehly knows what he's doing. And the most frustrating part really is the fact that the people that do know what they're doing, he fired them. So there's plenty of problems I've got with Todd Boehly, but where, in my opinion, he's simply just made the wrong decisions and keeps making the wrong decisions. At the moment, we're doing well, and that is excellent. But if you don't get in someone that knows the club, you're looking at a mess of a situation, because if someone knows football and knows what they're talking about, they can take advantage of things that we've not taken advantage of as it stands, just because Todd Boehly doesn't know that much about these things. So,
I hear that. Sorry to sort of cut in.
Oh, that's fine.
I just think that anyone could buy a player for 100 million and split it over 9 years in terms of the payment, right? But if you were to do it, say, with Enzo and Mudryk, for example, fair enough. They have to work, otherwise they're kind of dead weight.
Otherwise, we'll spend some more money.
To get rid of. Otherwise, just spend more money, exactly. But the thing is that, and you'd be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems, outside looking in, that every player you buy is on minimum 6 to 7 year contracts. Every single player, and you've bought a lot of players, so you'd say law of averages that not all of these players are going to work.
No.
So what you then say is that you'd then be lumbered with a bunch of players that you're going to struggle to get rid of just because they're on such long contracts.
And that's when Todd Boehly's naivety comes in once again. We know that he's doing it because there's a loophole. We've talked about that before. But, it's that risk you're taking. You're signing a player for that long. What happens if that player doesn't work? And it's one of these things where it's football fans saying this, people that watch the game but don't actually work in the business. And then you've got people like Todd Boehly, who's bought himself a football club because he had too much money. Well, bought into the consortium. And you kind of think, how is this going to work? What happens if this doesn't work? And sure, buying players in general is a risk, whether it's for a 1 year deal or a 2 year deal or an 8 year deal. But signing the player for that long, you're signing up to a commitment which could easily fail in the first 2 years out of the available 9. So again, it's proof of Todd Boehly's naivety.
I was just going to say that I see it a bit like that, but then I don't, because for me, it's just a ready-made replacement for them older players. So what will happen is if it don't work, they'll just sell people like players like Raheem Sterling, Lukaku when someone wants to buy him, or them older sort of players. Like realistically, Chelsea ain't got to buy anyone for the next 4 or 5 years if that all comes off. And
if it all comes off, but that's the problem.
It has to come off.
It has to come off. If it doesn't, then money has been wasted.
But I can't see people, like, we all know what Caicedo does. Lavia, I think he's a good youngster. He'll make it. Mudryk, I don't know, because that was just a weird situation. But the whole 7-8 years, I agree with Ray. Like, if it was that obvious, everyone would be doing it. And believe me, there's a lot of clubs that would. Like Arsenal love to penny pinch. Like, we offered £1 for. Like, so if we could have paid Declan Rice's fee over the next 20 years, like a very payment, like they easily would have done it. So I don't know. He spends a lot of money, but I don't think he's as stupid as people think. Like, I even saw today, so I don't know if this is a joke or someone. It was serious, but Matt Law from the journalist said that Todd Boehly he said he wanted to buy David Fofana until Pochettino told him that they already had him, but he was on loan. If that's
He
true,
bought so many people.
I
that
don't-
can't even remember.
I wouldn't be surprised. The Man
Hasn't got a
United will
clue.
beat Real Madrid when we couldn't even beat, teams at the bottom of the Premier League.
yeah, like he was so like he said, and then apparently his response was, "Oh, I bought so many people recently, I can't keep up." Like, so that's true. Like,
I'd like to say it isn't true and people are being crude, but I can see that happening. He's, it's the quotes that he sometimes comes up with. It's kind of like, I bought a football club and I've got no idea how it works. I don't know. But Jonesy, you've had a question as well. Has it been answered, or or not? If not, feel free to ask.
No, I was just going to ask about Mudryk. I know reports come out earlier in the week that you offered him to us in a swap deal for ESR, Smith Rowe. 6 months since you bought him. I just want to know your thoughts and feelings. Like, we spoke about just now, you spent all that money on a player in January who probably you didn't really want or need. Maybe just to take him off us. I don't know. I don't know what's going through that mad magician's mind you've got as an owner. But I just want to know your thoughts and feelings on Mudryk. As he put up a cryptic Instagram post as well. So I just wanted to get, as a Chelsea fan, what your thoughts on him are.
I'll tell you my thoughts on Mudryk, shall I? I've been very vocal about him when we signed him. So I remember when the actual confirmation came in, I was on a train when this came in, and the best way I can describe it is I was completely baffled because we didn't need him. Like you said, Jonesy, we probably bought him just to steal him off a club that was competing with us, but we weren't competing with them because we weren't good enough. And everything said to me, and I remember he was unveiled in our game against Palace, and I couldn't see his facial expression, but pretty much everyone too that could see basically said to me, this man doesn't look like he wants to be there. And it begs the question for me, he clearly wanted to go to Arsenal. To me, I could see it, and many other people could see it, which then makes me wonder, why the hell do you sign a player who clearly doesn't want to come to your club? Of course, money talks. We've seen that enough, but we should not have signed him. He should have gone to Arsenal, but looking at what he's like, you guys probably dodged a bullet, to be fair. So to me, I didn't want him. I didn't think we needed him. And I thought his signing was ridiculously childish and just illogical. And now, like Ray said, we're lumbered with a player on a hugely long deal who basically is not delivered. I mean, sure, he scored against AFC Wimbledon. Wow. My goodness. That means if he can score against them, he can score against Bayern Munich, clearly. So I was never keen on Mudryk. I mean, he can run. Well done. That's what he can do. So he can go into the athletics, maybe. I don't know. But I'm not keen. Now, I'm willing to be proven wrong on Mudryk, but so far, 6 months plus later, I personally have not been proven wrong on him at all. Arsenal dodged a bullet. You wanted him, but now you've seen how crap he is. Maybe, you don't want him, but we shouldn't have signed him. And it's one of many Todd Bowley style signings where, like Ray said, if anything, Ray, Mudryk is a clear example of what you were suggesting.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the reason why I sort of said that is because he's obviously come in for a lot of money, and he just looks like a player, like Jonesy said, you didn't really look like you needed, but it was just kind of a bit of a power play just to try and get him. But yeah, I mean, like I say, it's still very early. I'm talking about giving Havertz time after 4 games. I still think you need to give Mudryk time. I'm not saying he's a complete dud already, but so far it's not looking very promising.
But do you think that's down to the fact that he's at a club he doesn't want to be at? Potentially,
potentially.
Well, yeah. This is the thing you have to kind of look at, is the fact that if a player doesn't want to be at a club, regardless of how much money's involved, if a player doesn't want to be in a club, and all of us looking at our respective teams, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, we spoke about, all of our clubs had players that didn't want to be at the club. And let me tell you, we've all seen it. If they don't want to be at that club, they will make it goddamn clear, regardless of how much wages they are getting. And
Yeah,
Modric could be doing exactly the same. And technically, I can't say I blame him. I mean, I don't know. My understanding of the transfer window sometimes is a bit hazy, and I tell you for why. Because to me, I thought a player had quite a lot of say on where he goes. But in this case, it just seems like basically Shakhtar said, no, they paid more, so whatever. So we don't care. You're going there because we're getting more money. And Modric basically had no say in the matter of where the future of his potential football career lies, which to me is simply it's not right. And Modric could have had a better career somewhere else. Again, could he improve? Yes, he probably can. But it remains to be seen. Could he have been better at Arsenal? Well, we're never going to find out, because I doubt Arsenal will go for him at the moment anyway.
The thing is as well, right, is if we talk like pure footballing wise, is that he come from the Ukrainian league, which isn't one of the top leagues in European football. So he wasn't challenging himself against the very best on a weekly basis. I know he played in the Champions League. I believe he had a good game against Real Madrid. So that was really sort of hyped up his ability and his transfer fee. But if you're not the certain type of character and you come into the Premier League, it can swallow you up. And at the moment, he kind of looks like that's happening to him. He's a very sort of social media, Instagrammy, TikTok style footballer, where you can see all these clips of him and these training montages, and he looks a business, doesn't he? But when you see him sat in a tracksuit on Chelsea's bench every week, it just doesn't correlate. So
doesn't sell.
I don't know whether it's an attitude thing, whether it's he doesn't really want to be there, and he's just there because he's getting paid more. I don't know what it is. As a Chelsea fan, you may be able to sort of shed a bit more light on it, but it's just a strange situation. And as I sort of alluded to earlier, if the deal doesn't work for whatever reason, you're now got another 7 or 8 years to go in his contract, and there's not going to be a queue of suitors that are going to pay anywhere close to what you paid for him.
I agree, and I think it's one of these things where if you were in Todd Bowley's shoes and you looked at it, it should have been a sobering moment, kind of going, yeah, that's a mistake that's going to cost me now. Better not do it again. But clearly that was very much not the case, but we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I don't expect us to sign anybody in this window now. I think it's approaching 9:30, so an hour and a half left. I doubt something will happen. If anything, we might sell a few players potentially, depending on links. But other than that, the only player I could say I wish we've signed was Victor Osimhen. But there we go. So that is Chelsea FC. So thank you also to Ray and Jonesy for joining in on that one. Now, before we move on to talk Liverpool and United, thank you to everyone for watching. People have been popping in and out. You can comment along on the show, drop us some comments, but thank you to the ones who are watching. We move on to Man United, Liverpool very shortly. Jonesy and Ray, thank you very much for joining us. You are more than welcome to stay, depending on timings, and we'll see if we can get you in on the Liverpool Man United chats. But I'm
going to have to bounce now, I'm afraid, boys. But thank you so much for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you both, and hopefully we'll see you on another show very soon.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Cheers,
See you
guys.
later.
So we're going to go to our very own Fabrizio Romano again. Fabrizio Sullivan, any transfer breaking deals?
Mate, I break it before Romano. Just ask Abdi. So there was quite a few bits that have happened. So Sinestra from Leeds is having a medical at Bournemouth alongside Patson Daka as well on a loan deal.
Oh, Patson Daka, that's an interesting one because he was very good at Leicester, so it'd be good for him to play in the Premier League.
Yeah, I thought that as well. And Joao Cancelo, as we were talking about him, and Joao Felix, according to Fabrizio, that's all done to Barcelona. So
The
there's
Joaos.
The Joaos, yeah.
Um,
Atletico Madrid play at Barcelona. When did that happen before?
yeah. Obviously we're going on to United and Liverpool. Ryan Gravenberch has signed, just official announcement. The same thing with Amrabat for United. So I think that's a very good signing for United. Definitely what they need. The one that is a little bit interesting, Man City have bought a youngster from West Ham on a free. All I know about him is he's like 18, 19. His name's Baptiste.
Batista.
Okay. So, yeah, go on, George.
As far as I know, that's all that's happened so far.
Thank you, George Romano. So we will now move on to talk Manchester United and Liverpool. I say Manchester United.
Why the combo? Why are you lumping us in with that?
Because you're going one after the other, basically on my running order, my friend. That's all it is. And you're very friendly neighbours, so you know.
Friendly.
I'm not sure about friendly.
So we
friendly.
will introduce our very much resident Liverpool fan, Diane Wainwright. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You?
All good, mate. All good. Loving this show so far. It's going out well. There's no technical problems. Touch MDF. It's all good. So let's talk Manchester United first, shall we? With our resident admin, Abdi here. So, my friend, your transfer window has been interesting, to say the least. You've bought...
Oh, it's been long.
You've bought Højlund. You've bought Andre Onana, amongst others. Let's get your opinions on the few players you have signed, my friend. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Where to begin? I am, at the end of this transfer window, I am not as negative as a lot of other United fans are. It's really
negative.
Performance-wise, yes, but I do see like what we're trying to do. I feel like you put Amrabat in there, shift it up a little bit, we should be okay. But yeah, growing pains from the start of the season. Usually you have to kind of get into it. I don't think we really look ready and fit for the season. It's kind of weird, but hopefully we can build up and really get going after the international break. Hopefully this Sunday as well, but we shall see. But yeah, a lot of fans have been pretty negative and saying that they give this transfer window a 3 out of 10 or as low as like 4 out of 10 or something like that, mainly because of how long it's taken us to do deals and not being able to get rid of the likes of Harry Maguire and Scott McTominay from the club. As much as I wanted to get rid of those two, I don't think it's that much of an issue because the amount of people that will be in front of them and they won't really be getting that much game time. Well, Harry might because of the injury issue of Varane, but as for McTominay, he's kind of down the list in terms of how many people would be in front of him to come on. So both of them should have just took the hit and just moved on and got first team football. McTominay could have gone to West Ham, so could Maguire. McTominay actually could have gone to Fulham today. Maybe partly the reason why the Paulinho deal collapsed because they couldn't get him. So I don't really understand their mentality and their mindset. They just want to sit on their contract and not really go out and get some first team football. They just sort of, I don't know. It's a weird one. I'm not really too pleased with it, but for me, mainly the things that are going to improve the team is the incomings. And let me start off with our very first summer signing, Mason Mount. Kind of came out of the blue a little bit. It was no pun intended, really. But it was a weird one to start with. But I kind of like the signing. I think he's a very good player. Underrated and maybe underappreciated and highly disrespected by a lot of fans, rival fans. I feel like he can be quality when he's used right. I just feel like he had a very poor season, as did everyone in Chelsea. So there's no real surprise there. But I feel like he's getting sort of similar sort of treatment that Havertz is. But I feel like Havertz might get a bit more. But a lot of people are saying, I don't get it. Why did we sign him? We don't need him, this and that. And he hadn't really had a chance to really get going yet. And poor fella's very injured. So we'll probably see him after the international break. The main one that stood out to me, Andre Onana. After De Gea, that was a mess, letting De Gea go. Could have done it better and more respectfully, but hey ho, that's United for you, always disrespecting the legends. But yeah, Andre Onana, quality keeper, improves the way we play going forwards. I'm still sort of waiting to see how he does in terms of shot stopping and that sort of situation when he's facing shots. I don't know. I always trusted De Gea when it came to like shot stopping. Is just trying to get used to someone else being in the net. As for like his distribution, his passing and sweeping, I trust him with that because I've seen bits and bobs that he can do with it, and he looks class when he's doing it. But we're probably going to be in for some hairy moments in terms of a few clangers. There was an instant in pre-season when Dalot lost the ball. Onana was already sort of up the pitch and fell to a Lons player, and he just whacked it first time and lobbed Onana from about halfway. So hopefully we don't see too much of those, but that was only pre-season. Rasmus Højlund got the striker in that we were looking for, I guess. Very young, still very raw. And its potential, really, the signing, unfortunately, came in with a back injury. But should be raring to go for Sunday. So we'll get to see him there, hopefully. And hopefully he can make an impact straight from day one. And hopefully he lives up to the potential and the trust that we're putting into him. But I also feel like we should have brought in a veteran striker to partner along with him because it takes off the pressure and the load from him. We're just gonna have to roll with it, I guess. Martial, if he can stay fit and injury free, which is unlikely, unfortunately, given the state of his injury record last season and previous seasons before that. So hopefully Martial can deputize and back him up or rotate as and when. Rashford could fill in there, but I don't like him there because we lose something when he's not on the left. Sancho could even do a job there. He done well against Arsenal during pre-season from that position, so you never know. Who else did we sign? And then we've got the ones that we've done today. Altay Bayindir, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not too sure, might have just butchered it, but he's a backup keeper for Onana after Henderson left yesterday. So good. I don't know too much about him. I know his name. I've seen him before, but I don't know too much. I haven't seen too much of him, so I can't really speak. He's a backup keeper, so he won't be playing too much other than cups and maybe potentially if Onana goes to African Cup of Nations in January, but I don't know what's going on with that situation, so we have to wait and see with that. Sergio Reguilon. We've been hit with a bit of an injury bug at United at the moment, so we've got no Luke Shaw and no Tyrell Malacia, so we tried to go for Cucurella on loan for the season with a break clause, but Chelsea didn't want to take the break clause in January, so we had to pivot and we went after Reguilon. I'm not as pissed as a lot of United fans are. It's one of those ones I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to disrespect Sergio Reguilon that much. I think he can be decent. And for cover until Luke Shaw and Malacia are back, I have no issues with it. It needs to be done, because we're very light in that section. So, yeah. And then Johnny Evans, the legend, returning for a 1-year deal. I don't think he'll get too many minutes. I think it'll be more maybe the cup games, but I know Ten Hag goes pretty strong in those, to be fair, as well. So we'll see what happens there. And then the one that I'm waiting for to be officially announced and confirmed, which should be any minute now, Sofiane Amrabat from Fiorentina on loan with a buy option. We are skint as hell because we could not facilitate this, and luckily for us, he really wanted to come to United because the amount of people that are trying to get him as well. Forest are trying to get him, Fulham were trying to get him, Liverpool trying to get him, Saudi clubs are trying to get him, Atletico Madrid were trying to get him, a bunch of different clubs are trying to get him, but he kept waiting for United since June. So I have a lot of respect for him purely based off that. And I think this is a signing that will sort of help balance out that midfield that we've been having, like that issue that we've been having in the first few games, and make us not so open on the counter attack, because Wolves absolutely just walked through us. Tottenham kind of did the same. Forest, not so much, but yeah. So I'm hoping that he can settle in well and look good in that midfield, partnering Casemiro, and we're gonna need that heavy rotation. I don't think United are too far off from being where we sort of want to be in terms of the personnel and the squad that we have. I still feel like we need a couple more stuff here and there over like the next transfer window. Probably a new centre back to sort of take Varane's spot. Potentially a new right back, depending on how things go, and probably a new attacker slash forward, whether that be a striker to be behind Højlund or sort of take pressure off him, or depending on how things go, Anthony or Sancho on the right wing, potentially a new right winger, who knows. But yeah, I don't think United are too far off. We just need to sort of build and gel and get back to what we were sort of doing last season in terms of results and performance wise. And yeah, unfortunately though, there's part of me that still think that there will be a couple beatings along the way, which it won't be fun to watch when they inevitably happen. But yeah, if you have any further questions, let me know. But that's my main thoughts on United's transfer window so far.
One transfer I want to actually ask you about a bit more is the transfer of Dean Henderson to Crystal Palace. So not really worked out for Dean Henderson at United. You know, he's definitely got an attitude problem, which, as I've said to Palace fans, is the one issue they might encounter with looking at having him as a number one keeper, for example. What's your views on Dean Henderson's move to Palace?
I'm happy for him. I mean, needs to sort of get out of United and move on and settle down and become a permanent number one rather than go out on loan, because he went out on loan to Sheffield United, spent a couple of seasons there, came back, tried to compete for the number one spot at United, didn't end well, and that's sort of part of the reason why I don't like two number ones trying to push for one spot. It doesn't work out. It just doesn't. And then he went out again on loan to Forest after making comments saying that he doesn't want to even sort of show himself to the manager and give him a chance to really assess the squad and the situation. Who knows? Henderson could have been United's number one if he had stuck around last season. But he already, part of me doesn't blame him in terms of the club did mess him about in terms of false promises and keeping him back when they said they'll let him go, or promising him the number one spot. I think it's just a bit of both, but he doesn't really cover himself in glory with the comments that he made afterwards and doing that interview. So for him, good luck to him, and yeah, I hope he does well. But yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him leaving. I was a fan of him not too long ago, but I kind of went off him because of the attitude that he has showed towards United. So it is what it is, unfortunately. Sad to see it end the way it did in terms of not getting a full opportunity at United, but yeah, it's for the best.
We will go to you, George, in a second, so you can talk about this actually as well, and you can say your point. I've got a few bits of news for you coming in. So Dortmund game finished 2-2 between Borussia Dortmund and Heidenheim, so Dortmund pay a penalty for that. Enough more points dropped in the Bundesliga. Roma have pulled it back a bit against AC Milan. They are only 2-1 down now, but that game is going to be finishing soon in a couple of minutes. And there is some sad news to bring you that former owner of Fulham Football Club, I might butcher it, Mohammed Al Fayed, has died. I believe that's how I pronounce his name. Okay, George, we'll go to you then.
That's what I was going to say as well about Al Fayed. But, and also Dortmund literally paid the penalty because it was a penalty.
That's why I said that was the Flash Score headline.
So, question I've got for you, Abdi.
Yep.
I think it's pretty obvious that the Glazers have basically screwed you over once again.
Yep. I won't refute that.
But I was trying to say it politely. But
don't worry, mate. We all know the truth.
Yeah.
You don't have to sugarcoat over them. They're leeches. We know what they are.
But for me, like, does it not?
Until they spend a lot of money.
Does it not?
Nah. Go on. Sorry.
Does it not worry you a little bit that your squad might be a bit thin in certain areas, like? Especially with a centre half, like I know you brought Johnny Evans in, but I don't think realistically he's going to play that much. But
yes, that's sort of that is a concern in terms of
why?
Yeah, it is a concern. I feel like if Maguire had have gone, we could have potentially gotten a centre back. Personally, I would have loved us to. If we had been proactive at the start of the window to go after Kim Min-jae before he went to Bayern Munich, because that would have been a class signing. And for the price that we could have gotten, it would have been 40 million release clause. That could have been triggered and sorted out. But unfortunately, we just didn't really go for it because we have been banging on this drum about FFP.
I'm going to have to interrupt you, Abdi. It is 2-0 West Ham. Kurt Zouma has scored against the Hatters.
We've been banging on this drum about FFP and you can't spend money, we have to sell to buy, and it's just been frustrating in that sense because it has been a restraint in terms of, and I do understand a lot of United fans' frustrations in terms of how long it's taken to do deals and the delays and not getting targets that we should have been getting and going after in the first place, unfortunately. But when you deal with the Glazers, you deal in their sort of financial frame that we've termed Glazonomics. You know, you've got to make things look nice and neat and pretty and got to try and get the best deal possible until they panic and have to just splurge a lot of money and potentially waste it. It's not a fun situation, and I just hope that they get this takeover deal sorted, and because that's another thing that's just kind of gone downhill and quiet, and that's been frustrating United fans that everything's just sort of shut down, and it should have been done, or we should have known who would have been taken over back in May, maybe even June time. They keep just pushing the goalpost back, and it's frustrating. It's very frustrating as a United fan, and a lot of fans aren't happy, and they won't really accept anything that the Glazers do at this moment in time. They can't really appease them. I think the only thing that the Glazers can do is sell and get out. That's the only thing United fans would be appeased by. So, yeah.
I'll just quickly say about the Regulon thing. Obviously, as a Arsenal fan, for someone who's played for Spurs, I don't actually think it's a bad signing. To be honest,
it's not.
If we're being honest, like apart from Harry Kane, no one else really looks that good consistently for Spurs. But when Reguilon first went there, he was like meant to be one of the best up and coming fullbacks. So I think he does a job.
And we went for him as well.
Yeah,
we were supposed to go to us, but we pulled out, and I think we went for Tellez. That didn't work out too well either.
That's what I mean. Like, so my only thing with the fullback, to me it looked like it was like really desperate. There was no strategy. Like they couldn't get Cucurella because of not paying whatever, or Chelsea didn't want to do whatever, or whatever that sense was going on there. But I know, if you want me to be honest, I know who I'd rather have out of the two.
Who would you rather have?
Reguilon every day of the week.
Same here. I mean, I would have paid for Cucurella's taxi, to be honest.
What do you think Cucurella was that? What's that, 40-odd million?
I wasn't too fussed either one. I was just like, just get a left back, really. Get someone in. If you're going to do it, just do it.
We'll come to Brighton later in the show because there's a lot of stuff I want to say about them. But I know you said you don't think you're that far. I think you're probably about 4 top quality players away. But that's
about
if
that. Another good transfer window next season, as long as everyone's sort of developing in the way that they need to be. So centre back to replace Varane. I'd say another midfielder after we get McTominay out at some point. And then an attacker and potentially a right back. So four is about right.
So this is related to Man United. So this is a transfer rumor that's come about. I've never heard of the thing, but a couple of people are tweeting it now.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Hetafe, probably murdering that, is apparently going to try and get Mason Greenwood on loan.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, you can't be surprised that European clubs are looking at Greenwood. He's not going to get much play in the English leagues as it stands.
So there's a lot I could. This could spiral into something else. But what my issue is so you ain't going to get games over here. That's fine. But then what? Because people were saying, I've seen some people say, "Oh, you should retire, or never play football again."
I disagree with that myself.
If you're going into the really deep stuff of it, Mendy's playing in France. If you want to go back for Ched Evans,
to be fair to Mendy, he was found not guilty in terms of his trials. It was literally not guilty, so he was found innocent. Whereas Greenwood's one was just charges dropped, so there was no real trial to find him guilty or innocent. And his one, there was stuff that was posted online, so a lot of people, it's more sensitive for everyone else. Also, sorry to interrupt, official confirmed Brian Gravenberch is a Liverpool player. Also, Amrabat announcement should be imminent because Ornstein and Romano have said that he's signed his contract and medicals are already done, so we should get a statement soon. So it should be all done.
Give you a few full-time scores as well. 10-man AC Milan have lasted and beat AS Roma 2-1. So they maintain their 100% record. It's 3 out of 3. George?
And it was Tomori that actually got sent off racing.
Yeah, the headline from the Flash Score was 10-man Milan play like there's no tomorrow. Excellent.
I will say the whole Greenwood situation has been handled poorly by United side, because effectively United have become, in terms of whether they like it or not, they became the judge, the jury, and the execution in terms of determining whether Greenwood was guilty or not guilty. And the way they conducted themselves and handled the situation was very tactless.
We say a quick shout out to Arsenal Manic. They are saying hello. Arsenal Manic says hello. So hello to you. Thank you for watching. And yes, feel free to put in the comments what you're thinking of what's being discussed. Abdi, carry on.
I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, they handled it poorly in terms of the way they were going about it. Reports didn't help in terms of the ones that came out saying that they will talk to the women's team about it and get them to sort of make a decision on it. I don't think that was necessarily true because it wasn't reported accurately. I think they were informing the women's team of a decision rather than getting them to decide whether they. I think Luton has just pulled one back, so it's 2-1. But yeah, what's it? Yeah, a lot of the like Ella Toon and Katie Zellum and the women that were in the England squad were getting a lot of abuse in their comments, and United had to sort of come out with a statement saying no decision has been made yet, and they were still working on it, and they'll make a decision soon. And yeah, they were originally planning on bringing him back. Apparently, Richard Arnold made a video to explain the situation. They had plans in place, plans in motion, but because of that initial statement and the stuff that was leaking from articles, there was a lot of like a big backlash from everyone else. My main issue from the whole thing is that in their statement, they were saying that new material had come to light that they deem that Greenwood was innocent of what he'd done and he wasn't guilty of it. So my main concern is what is new material and what, like, if you say that he's now innocent, then why is he why are you getting rid of him in that sense? Because it doesn't really help the situation. If they just said that they're getting rid of him, and it's best for everyone that he moves on, fair enough, you can understand it. But the fact that they said that there was new material that basically said that he's innocent, it doesn't help the situation. I feel like it aggravated it a bit more. So yeah, if there's a lot of people saying that he should never play football again, there's other people that say he should never play for United again, but he can go play other like elsewhere. It's a weird one. Like there's people saying if I don't know, it's a complicated situation. Some people are just saying like he should never play again, he should play again, or he should get a chance to go play elsewhere. I don't know. It's down to Greenwood and the club, and they've decided to just part ways. So yeah, it's just a messy situation all around.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to have to move us on unless there's anything else you briefly want to add, George.
No, that's it.
Okay. Any more breaking news, breaking stuff apart from my Mac battery almost dying, so I had to plug it in. So if you did see someone rushing around the room with a charger, that was me. Yes. So any more news and transfers before we talk about Liverpool?
There might be. Unless Abdi knows one, but I've not actually just checked.
I haven't seen anything as
apart from the Southampton defender, and I'm not going to try and attempt to say his name.
Okay, we move on then.
João Cancelo's official now. This is breaking official.
To Barcelona.
We already knew that. To Barcelona, yeah.
I was going to say that was. I mean, it's breaking news, but not breaking news sort of thing, really. If you look at it,
it's more official news.
Just to confirm a full-time score in France, Nantes have drawn with Marseille, so Monaco will have a chance to go ahead as Marseille drop points. They'll have a chance to go ahead in Ligue 1 whenever they play their game over the weekend. It's either Saturday or Sunday, so I'll have to check that. We move on to Liverpool. So Dan, we move on to you, and you basically do what Abdi did. Tell us what you thought of Liverpool's transfer window, the players you've signed and the players you've lost.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm particularly happy with the transfer window. I think the players we've signed are good. Like, they are good players. You know, we've got a good future with those players. But I think, to be completely honest, we needed a centre-back.
It has,
I think, obviously
West Ham to Luton 1, by the way. So West Ham with Luton carry on with 0 points out of 3 games.
Yeah, I think we needed a centre-back. I think that's been shown now. Obviously, the other day having to bring the youngster on after Van Dijk got suspended. Konate's injured. Again, he's not fit to play this weekend. So centre back, I think, would have been a good idea. I'm not against the outgoings. I mean, Naby Keita, of course, always injured. There was nothing against that. He was played probably less than half of the games for the whole time that he was at Liverpool. I think Firmino, I think now we've got Gakpo. He's sort of adopting a similar role. We've got Nunez, obviously. It seemed like the right time. Obviously, he's gone now to everyone's favourite league, the Saudi League. And I think the other players that went, I think Milner was getting to a point where he was good in the dressing room, but maybe not going to play as much as he even did last season. His game time's been going down on a season-by-season basis. He was versatile, could play in most positions. That was always good for us. But again, game time was going to go down. And then obviously you've got Ox, who just faded after that injury. But when we talk about incomings, I think McAllister, I think he's definitely... I mean, we've seen him play more lately as a defensive midfielder than further forward into the midfield where he was brought to play. But I think with the signing of Endo, that's going to be, allow him to go further forward. Obviously, we've just completed Gravenberch in the last few minutes. Again, that's another option. Szoboszlai, I think he looks like he's going to be definitely worth the money. Obviously, he had the release clause in his contract, but he definitely looks worth it. The only signing I question, but not in a bad way, is Endo. I mean, Klopp this morning in the press conference was talking about needing all this time to adapt, and that's fine, obviously, but he's not maybe the youngest player. I mean, a lot of people saying, obviously, where Fabinho went, that's the replacement. But you look at it, and I think Fabinho was actually younger than him, and everyone was saying that Fabinho looked past it. So, Endo, I'd say, is definitely, in terms of football, he's a late bloomer. But for how long? How long is he going to operate at that level for? How long is it going to take him to fully adapt and settle in? But yeah, I mean, Gravenberch is, I think, because obviously that being the most recent signing, I'm happy with that one. I think he can play across the midfield. It's going to help us out a lot. Again, he can play in the defensive midfield position if we need him to. He's definitely got a long career. The only thing that interests me is that he didn't play much at Bayern. I expect him to play more at Liverpool, but he doesn't seem to want to stay somewhere if it goes wrong. I mean, they were talking about him leaving in January from Bayern. So if it doesn't go completely to plan, is he going to want to leave Liverpool? But yeah, Szoboszlai, I think so far has been the one that I'm the most excited about. He looks worth the money, to be honest. The way he plays, the work he puts in, he looks like a really good player. He's obviously coping straight away. He steps into the Premier League. He steps into Liverpool's way of playing, and he's coping. He's doing really well. I think, as I said, McAllister now that we do have the defensive midfielders, we can see him pushed further forward, see what he can do. Obviously, he's good at what he does in the creating part or the shooting and that. But yeah, definitely, we've made good signings. I'm just not sure we've made enough. I think, obviously, Caicedo and Leiva getting past us, 2 signings both to Chelsea. I mean, obviously, they can spend what they want at the minute, but it's still the fact that I sit here now and I think that the money was obviously there. I mean, we spent 16 on Endo and 35 to 40 on Gravenberch, and they offered 115. So that still leaves us 60 million. I mean, I think we could have gone for a centre-back really for that as well, or at least a centre-back or a right-back. I just feel like we're going to have the 2021 problem again, where if we get too many injuries, we're going to lack in centre-backs. And obviously that cost us last time. And we need to be back in there again, and it's going to cost us again. But it's a difficult one. Obviously, I'd be completely shocked if anything happened there now. I don't see that happening in the last hour. But, I think it is what it is. But the midfield, yes, we've had the midfield rebuild, obviously. I think that's really good. Henderson, I think, was one I forgot to cover earlier, but I think he needed to go. I mean, he's not a bad player, but he looks like he was starting to get a bit knackered, and maybe the demands were going to be too much. I don't think he was going to be a Milner and last a long time. But yeah, the midfield's been rebuilt. We've kept Salah. Whether that will be the case by the time their window shuts, I don't know. I think we'd be stupid to let him go without a replacement. But, you offer a high enough amount of money, who knows what's going to happen.
Okay, cheers for that, Dan. Some good opinion.
West Ham won, by the way, 2-1.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. West Ham won, and they currently go top of the league, at least until tomorrow.
Top of the league, so we are top of the league.
That's an interesting one. Thank you for people watching. Feel free to put in the comments if you've got any questions for our panel. You're more than welcome to ask. We will try to answer. Me including, will try to answer our best. George and Abdi, have you got any questions to Dan or anything else you want to add on Liverpool transfers?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, Mr. Mo Salah.
Yeah, that's going to be talked about.
Go.
Yeah, let's go.
So, as a neutral fan, if someone offered me over 100, well, it looks like from what the rumours are saying, there's going to be a 200 million bid before the end of the transfer window for a 31-year-old in Mo Salah.
Do we know when that window ends, George?
Couple of weeks.
Okay, couple of weeks.
20th, I believe.
Yeah. So I know Mo Salah's like a god to Liverpool fans, but surely you'd be considering taking that 200 million, wouldn't you?
I just want to respond to that. I just want to say, you've got a point there, George. I'm not disagreeing with you, mate. But if it was in sort of June time, yes. But, we don't have the time to go out and sign anyone. If you'd offered it earlier, I would have sat here and agreed that 200 million for him at that age is brilliant. But it's too late. I just don't think we've got anyone. We can play Jota anywhere across there, but we haven't got anyone that we can put there that is going to be that confident that is going to do what he does. If we'd had the time to, have a look around for players and see who was about, then definitely we could have brought in a few players and probably a centre back with that money as well as someone to replace him. But I feel like it's too late now, and I feel like, we can't. We're not in a position where we can accept that and be all right with not having a replacement. And obviously, everyone knows the January prices are always massively inflated as well, because obviously it's mid-season. So you're looking at, depending on Liverpool, who obviously like walking away from a negotiation if the prices go up, you're looking at a year with no straight replacement.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because obviously you can't replace him. But with Salah, I think it's a similar conversation to what Leighton was having earlier with Tottenham with Kane. I don't think you replace Salah, so it'd have to be about evolving in different things. The only reason I'm not saying I would take it in your situation. I would take it if it was at the start or in the middle, at least giving you a bit of time to get a couple of people in. But that 200 million, surely, if that did happen, all of that would have to go to Jurgen, and then he could rebuild that team. I don't think you've got a bad team at all. I think you'll struggle centre half wise. But Endo.
Chop the H off. It's a budget saving exercise. So they can keep the Henderson kits.
I watched him in just decent player. But I don't know. It's a bit of a bipolar transfer window for Liverpool, because obviously they brought in. They started all right, and then they were linked with Casado and Lavia, but I just wonder if Liverpool have that pull anymore, and I don't know if they do.
Not at the moment, I don't think.
That's not me. That's not me being idiotic or just because Arsenal have been doing well. I just don't. If you're an up and coming player, would you want to go to Liverpool? I don't know. I think there's other teams in the Premier League that's more exciting. Obviously, we all know why people go to Chelsea, and that's not a disrespect to Hubert. But I think if you're a youngster, maybe Arsenal's one of the places to go because of how well we do with youngsters. But there's got to be a reason that Caicedo and Lavia have both rejected Liverpool, who are in European football. And I don't think it's just down to money. Like,
I do think it's a project. You look at Chelsea, the amount of young players they're signing. It's a young core for the future sort of thing. So
With
you can
Liv-
sort of build with it. Whereas Liverpool at the moment,
Yeah.
they are a bit of a. I mean, Chelsea are a team in transition, but Liverpool as well, trying to sort of sort themselves back out and get their midfield rebuilt. And Lavia and Caicedo would have improved it massively, but yeah, they chose Chelsea.
I don't think Liverpool have a project, really. I think they just try and replace that midfield and then rely too much again on Salah, your Salahs, Diaz's, Jotas, and all that. But
Well, they need to.
Yeah,
That's their
Well,
attacking
yeah.
players. They need to get the goals.
but if
That's how it is.
they had the 200 million, you can rebuild.
Yeah.
You can't rebuild on the 31st of August, like the 1st of
No, you
September,
won't.
If it was earlier, like I said, I would have taken it, but it's too late. It's far too
like
late now.
maybe a week ago, potentially, you could have
I'd say
taken that.
I'd say
still-
about the 10th of August. That's got to be the cut-off point because you got to persuade the players. You got to have a list of players. I think past that sort of time, past when the season started, I think around that time, probably not. But
You shouldn't
up to
have to.
mid-August, yeah, why not?
You shouldn't have to persuade players to sign though. That's
Nah,
what.
but it's like that at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
need to
that,
sell the project to them. Can't
that's
just be like, hey, come here.
no, but like I'll be honest, that's one thing Arteta's always said. He shouldn't. If you've got to persuade a player to join your club, like heavily persuade them, then maybe it's not the right time for them. Like I don't know.
I wasn't really referring to like heavily persuade. I'm just sort of like
No,
you have a conversation, you tell them about your project, and you tell them sort of how they fit into your team and
Especially
what
if they
roles
have
they can provide.
complete
That's
multiple clubs bidding.
yeah,
If they've got
that's the
multiple
sort
clubs
of thing
bidding,
that you need to do.
point
Like,
out why your club is the best out of the ones bidding. So there is an amount of persuasion required.
I'm not saying like
especially when you've got
beg
competing bids.
and plead and try and get that player to come and be like, oh, please, 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 and then just sort of pine you off. No, not like that. I'm just saying you sell your club to them in terms of the project, your vision, and how they fit into your team. But if you can't
that's where
really
I
do
feel
that,
like
then
we're
there's
stuck.
yeah.
That's where I feel like we're stuck because what is the project at the moment? Like I feel like you have to go through the transition to properly have the project, and I feel like we're in the middle of the transition. I think it was the same a few years ago. Like we missed out on players, but eventually we did that well, and players were coming. Like they wanted to come to Liverpool. I think it will get back to that, but you have to do the transition to then work on the projects. Obviously, we did that last time. We won the league, Champions League, but it's not a one transfer window thing. And I think if we get it right next summer, it's the last sort of 3 seasons we've brought in the attack last time, the midfield this time. I think Van Dijk's not getting any younger, and I think next summer we're going to have to focus on the defence and the centre halves. And yeah, we just need to get the full squad to an age where it's young again, like what we had before, where they're ready to go for it, a top level team, and you go again. Like every team has its moment. They have their ups and downs. They go away, transition, and that's when you come back, and that's when you have your project.
I think attacking wise for you guys are stacked attacking wise going forward. Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota. You have options there. Whereas your midfield and your defense is sort of where you might be needing that reinforcement. So once that, like, don't know if you've completely sorted out that midfield right now because it's still missing a little bit. I don't know what it is, but you're missing that X factor in there. But who knows? Gravenberch might be able to help out, but even then, I don't see him as that sort of lone 6 kind of play. He's more of a 8. So yeah, and then defense as well. You need, I'd say, reinforcement there. You're fine with Alisson. Alisson probably one of the best keepers in the world. Fullback wise, you know what you get of Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, but midfield and defence is where you need to sort of sort yourself out, really, and get back to that.
Surprised we've still got that Tsimikas. I'm surprised he's still at Liverpool. If I'm being completely honest, not that he's a bad player, but I'm surprised a team like Forest or something hasn't come in for him. And he's
they went for Nuno.
yeah, no, but you never know when you got a player who's decent. I'm surprised he's still there. I don't know if there was any interest, and Liverpool haven't got anyone else apart from him and Robertson, so I doubt they would have accepted. But
I think
again,
yeah,
you never know. No new contract for him. What's he been there 3 years? So he would have had probably a 4 or 5 year deal. So again, is he going to want to go and play first team football sometime soon? So do we need another left back for backup?
Yeah, I think with Liverpool, what it is as well, like Gravenberch, like Abdi said, he ain't playing that 6 role, so that's going to be Endo playing that role, because Gravenberch is more of an 8, I would have thought, and that's where he plays.
Is, yeah. He could play there, though. I think if we needed him to, he can play there.
So I'm not sure. I'd just be frustrated if I was a Liverpool fan. Like you've obviously got all that money because you put it in for Caicedo or Lavier. Like there's players out there you could have gone for. Like let's be real, you could have gone for Declan Rice before he went to Arsenal, or you could have gone for Paulinho. I think he's a very good player. So I think you'll be okay. Like I think you'll be around the European spots, but I don't think you're in a title race, not with that squad. And then just going back to Tavares, I think the reason Forest signed him because they saw how good he played for them against themselves when he played for Arsenal last season.
Yes, quite interesting points on Liverpool there. It'll be interesting to see how things will progress. So, any other points to mention? Any other points to Dan? Okay. So, George, any transfer breaking news, my friend, Mr. Romano?
So there is, but I might need Abdi's help with this. So Nottingham Forest apparently agreed a deal.
Oh yeah, I saw that earlier. Are you talking about the Norwich defender, Irish guy, Andrew Bamiadele?
Right, yeah, so thank you, because I was trying to read that while Dan was talking and it was like a countdown.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nottingham Forest, I tell you, they're doing business again. Like
They've gone crazy in the last 24 hours. I think they've done 5 or 6 signings already.
They're like the home. They're
crazy.
like Home version, or no, so they're like the Wish version of Chelsea. They buy all these players, but they don't have all that money. But what we will, so Callum Hudson-Odoi is done.
Yep.
Name's Gonzalo. That looks like that's done as well.
Montiel.
Pardon?
No. Gonzalo Montiel's done. Montiel's done it a while ago. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
I think he's a midfielder.
Which team?
Nottingham Forest.
Oh no, where's he coming from?
Torino or somewhere like that. I think.
Is it
Dominguez? Was it?
Dominguez. Yeah,
Dominguez.
Dominguez.
Dominguez, and this is the one that surprised me a bit. Is Divock Origi.
Divock Origi.
It doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
It
doesn't surprise me at all.
I just forgot he was still playing.
He went to Milan.
Yeah, well, in that situation, yeah, it didn't exactly work out at Milan, did it?
Apparently, there was a tug of war going on between Burnley and Nottingham Forest for Origi.
He rejected Burnley, from what I heard.
Yeah, and he went to Forest. Also, Ian Maatsen and Mark Guerrero will be staying at Chelsea.
Yeah, that's the Maatsen deal through. And from what a lot of Chelsea podcasters are saying, Trevor Chalobah will be staying at Chelsea as well. They don't see that him going to Chelsea. Going to Chelsea was it Chelsea? It was either Munich or Chelsea. Apart from that, there's not
I think
any.
Brennan Johnson might be being announced very shortly.
It's not going to be
And
long, I doubt.
It's yeah.
Padson and Daka and Sinestri are having their medicals, which I think I like Bournemouth have. I know we'll come to Bournemouth in a little while, but I think they've had a really tasty transfer window as well. Like, I think, you know what I mean? Like every club you look at, they've got good players. Like even the, I would say, maybe, I'm not saying like not disrespectful to Luton, but I think they may struggle this season. But if you really look at it, they've
Well,
got
they're already struggling. If you look at it, 0 points from 3 games, and that's not looking like that they're going to pick up much.
Ain't
think-
looking good, bro. Ain't looking good.
It's not looking good at all.
could be another Sunderland or Derby thing for me, but I hope I'm wrong.
Well, we'll have to, any more news?
No, that's it.
We'll have to wait and see what happens with Luton. Right, so now it's time for something a bit special. So we have asked you, the fans and friends of Golden Goal TV, to leave us some video contributions. By the way, Dan, you're more than welcome to stay. The Liverpool segment is finished, but if you want to stay and react to all the other things, you can stay for as long as you like, or you can pop out of the show. It's up to you. So that option is there. We will go to contributions, video contributions now from people. This will require technology, so we'll see if it all works. But yes, we will play you contributions. We've got one from Dan George, a freelance journalist from BBC, for working for the BBC. And we've got 3 videos from friend of the channel, Kevin Campbell, who's going to talk about...
Yes, the legend.
Who's going to talk about Arsenal, Everton, and Nottingham Forest. Huh? Yeah. So he will. So we've got contributions from him as well. So we will play them in a minute once we get it. Once I start getting it set up. So yeah.
The Johnson thing. Brennan Johnson's just signed his contract with Tottenham, and the announcement's imminent. So yeah, that's basically done.
Another signing over the line. So we're going to play you the videos. After listening, we will see what our panel has to say on them. So, yeah, hold on. One video, the first video is coming up in a minute.
Hey, George. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me on the show. My name's Dan George. I am a journalist, freelancer working for the BBC Global and a few other companies, and I'm an Arsenal fan. So George asked me to get involved with this show, and of course I couldn't say no. So hope everyone watching is well. And George, I hope you're having a good deadline day and enjoying the festivities. Apologies I can't be there live, but it's great to be here anyway. But yeah, you wanted me to talk about some transfers. I mean, we'll start with Arsenal. It's been a good window, in my opinion. I think, the Declan Rice signing was the main big one that got everyone excited, and I'm still incredibly excited by that signing. Kai Havertz is one that hopefully will pay off over time. And then Jurrien Timber, I thought one of the outstanding performers in pre-season, and was super excited to see him in action this season, but unfortunately he's done his ACL, so really, really disappointing on that one. And then finally, David Raya, I think a really smart bit of business and someone that will challenge Ramsdale, push Ramsdale to be a better keeper, and I'm sure they'll interchange as the cups come along and the European competitions there as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that battle between the two keepers, and I think David Raya is a brilliant signing for Arsenal. And yeah, I'm really excited about the season. I'm fortunate enough to be going to Man United on Sunday. So if any of you are there, then I look forward to seeing you there. But it's going to be a crazy game, I'm sure. And I'm quite confident that Arsenal can do a job over United as well. So we'll see how that one goes. But you also wanted me to talk about Bournemouth and Southampton because I work for the BBC down in the south, and those are two clubs that we cover. I mean, I'll start with the Cherries. Bournemouth, they've had a really good window, I think, signing some really good players, really solid players, exciting players, and I think a few to pick out. I think Justin Kluivert is a really exciting signing, one that no one really saw coming at the start of the windows, and to go to little old Bournemouth, as so many people say, is really quite a big deal. And they spent some serious money in this window. You look at also the likes of Alex Scott coming from Bristol City. That's an exciting signing. He's injured at the moment. And also Tyler Adams as well from Leeds. That's a big signing for Bournemouth, I think, after they lost Jefferson Lerma at the start of the summer. Tyler Adams coming in. He's injured too, but I think, American captain, brings a lot of leadership, a lot of quality to Bournemouth, and I think a really good signing for them. And they've made some other good signs. I think Milos Kerkez, a name that not many people will have heard of, maybe. He's a really good signing and someone that I think will do a lot of good for Bournemouth and maybe get the attention of some of the bigger clubs potentially throughout the season with them. And Saints, it's Southampton, it's an interesting one because they've lost a lot of players and they've almost reshuffled and a new look team under their manager Russell Marston now, and losing the likes of Ward-Prowse, Nathan Teller were some big blows for the side. And you've also look at Duya Shaletazar leaving, a few other players, key players from last season, Roman Perro, just to mention a few. I'm sure I've missed a few more there as well, but they've lost some key players, and it's been a big blow for Saints this season, but they've kind of reshuffled and changed it around a little bit, and that's worked quite well for them. And I reckon they will be doing some more business as the window gets closer. And I think out wide for them is a big position, and I also think that if they can keep hold of Shea Adams, that would be a big thing for them and a really good piece of business if they can keep hold of Shea Adams, because he scores goals and they've got Adam Armstrong as well. But Shea Adams is, I think, Premier League quality striker, and if they can keep him, then it's a huge, huge plus for Saints. But yeah, that's just about me done, I think, mate. I've spoken through everything I can, and again, mate, thank you so much for having me on. I hope everyone enjoys deadline day. I don't think Arsenal will be too busy. I think, unless bar any last minute shocks or anything, I think that's pretty much them done now. But it's been a great window, a tireless window, and I just can't wait for it to be shut and work gets a lot easier, not having to worry about people signing every 5 seconds. But yeah, thanks for having me, George. Enjoy the rest of the show. Thanks to everyone watching, and if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter, just at DanGeorge47. And have a great rest of your evening, guys. Take care.
So there we go. We've heard from Dan George there about a few clubs. It's good to hear about Southampton and Bournemouth. I think it's great to give them a shout as well, apart from all the other clubs we've talked about. So does anyone want to respond to anything Dan has mentioned before we move on to the next video?
Yeah, I'll go on to about Southampton, because as we know, we've got a friend called Darren in the group.
Darren.
And I think he was saying similar things. I think Nathan Teller going to Bayern Leverkusen is a very good move for him, especially when he was on loan at Burnley last season, wasn't he, Teller? So yeah, I think it's been a bit of a, like Dan said, definitely a time of like bringing new people in. Unless I've missed it, I don't know if Shea Adams has left.
He was rumoured to go to Everton, but that never happened.
I think he's still there.
But if Southampton have kept him, that's a very, very good player, striker to have in that championship. He easily could score 20 to 25 in the championship. But yeah, like you were saying here, but it was really nice to hear about other teams as well, like Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth's a bit, like I was saying earlier, it's exciting. Like the players are bringing in decent players like Kerkez, Kluivert, Alex Scott, not the woman, the man, but she'd probably be
Boy.
part of that midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've still got Solanke, Tyler Adams. Like I thought, like obviously he was meant to be down to you boys at Chelsea, and then the Casado and stuff happened. But yeah, I think that's a very, very good sign. So when they've got everyone fit, I wouldn't want to play against Bournemouth. Like it's not going to be your drubbins or the easy games. And what else did he say? I just want to say that thank you for Dan coming on as well. I know he's had a really, really busy day today. Like we're working for the BBC and stuff, so him doing that's really helped.
Absolutely. Thank you very much to Dan George. And as you've seen, it's very easy to do. So if you want to contribute to future shows this way, we are more than happy to play out your contributions. So in a minute, we will hear from Kevin Campbell. We had him on the show, obviously, when we were at Sportsmania. Remember them days?
Yeah, boy.
So he was there as our first massive special celebrity guest. So we're going to hear from him next on Arsenal.
Hi, Kevin Campbell here. We're talking about Arsenal and their transfer deadline. Look, Arsenal may be able to do some business. Looks like defensively they're going to be a little bit light, considering Tomiyasu is going to be going with Japan, etc. Losing Timber, Zinchenko back, but you know he's got a little bit of an injury issues at times, so we might need to go into the market. I'm not sure what Arsenal are going to do. A lot of fans still want a striker, but I can't see that happening at the moment. You know, maybe a loan or something, a couple of loan deals. Biggest movement for Arsenal is probably going to be outgoings with certain players. Excuse me, Rob Holding, Tavares has gone to Nottingham Forest on loan. Sambi Lokonga, he's probably gonna leave the club. So you know, there's going to be some movement, but I can't see too many incomings coming on with the Arsenal. So take care.
So there we go, Kevin Campbell there on Arsenal. Yes, Sambi, well, he left. But yeah, there's definitely points there from Kevin. Who wants to respond?
I just think he's basically just echoing what the rest of us are saying, to be honest. It was more about outgoings today. I would have liked another defender just to cover ourselves. But I think Rio Waters is going to probably get a bit more game time in the Carabao Cup and stuff like that. What I think people forget is if you played a normal back four, that's White, Gabriel Saliba and Zinchenko. We've still got people like Tomiyasu and Kivior that can play in numerous positions. Worst case scenario, we know that Partey can play at right back, but hopefully he doesn't. I don't know, Declan Rice, you don't want him to play there, but if worse came to worse, you could put him at centre half because he has played there before. But yeah, it's not like obviously Sambi Lokonga's gone to Luton. I think he'll make Luton a lot better. and Holding's gone to Palace. Arthur and Conquo's gone on loan to Wrexham, probably to replace Ben Foster. Also, just to say, Ormstein's reporting about Mason Greenwood to Getafe now. So
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I was just waiting for a break in the thing. And Amrabat's been just announced now as well.
Yeah.
So that's all good.
It's all coming about now.
It's all going well.
Yeah, I think what Super Kev has said is just basically bang on, and just a bit of it's not a transfer story, but Jermaine Timber has posted on his Instagram that he had a successful operation 2 weeks ago, and he will be at the Emirates on Sunday.
Why, Jared? Why?
Don't worry, he ain't playing. He probably sort you.
Why? Now we played him in the preseason to come to town.
So it's good to hear about Timber, like that he's had his.
Yeah, it is.
It's always good to hear about players' successful recovery.
And the banter, so I don't wish any player even Kane. I don't wish him.
No, we don't want to see that to anybody because some injuries could be very serious. So
I think what people forget is a footballer's career is very short. There's examples. Look at Dean Ashton. He was going to probably be one of the best England strikers. He could have probably been up there with Rooney at one stage. I'm not saying at the same levels, but it's goal, and then he got that bad injury, and his career was ruined. Like Jack Wilshere, we've seen it. So it's nice. It's hopefully, and it's nice to see players coming back from injury, and also with the Bournemouth thing, David Brooks playing again after what he'd been through. So it's nice.
Fantastic. Well, we are about to hear from Kevin Campbell once again. This time he'll be talking about his other former club, Everton.
Everton have brought in Beto, and I watched him last night. Looks a good signing. I'm sure Everton need more bodies. Speaking to Sean Dyche on Sky yesterday, he said that they're trying to do some last minute business, which he needs talent, doesn't he? He needs to get talent in. I'm not too sure what's going to come through the door. But they looked a better side with that Beto in. I've got to say that as a striker. Everton need some bodies, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do the business. So might be a tough time for Everton if they don't get the bodies in. But fingers crossed they do, and it gives Everton a better chance to move up that table and away from the relegation battle. So anyway, all the best.
Thank you once again to Kevin Campbell on Everton. Everton certainly quite a struggle. No points at the moment. Playing against Sheffield United tomorrow, who are in a similar position of no points. Just about managed to squeeze past League Two Doncaster in the League Cup. So certainly tricky times for Everton, trickier than before, you might say. Any comments on Kevin Campbell's opinions about Everton?
I kind of agree. I saw a little bit that Beto fella that they brought in. They do need someone who can stay fit as a striker ever since they lost Richarlison, and then Calvert-Lewin can't stay fit. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, he keeps getting injured and having injury problems. I think he's back at the moment, but how long will he stay fit for? Who knows? So, decent signing, I guess. But yeah, they need to get shifting if they want to stay up this season. I've personally pegged them to stay up rather comfortably this season, but they haven't made a good start, especially with games like the Wolves game and the Fulham game. Both games I feel like they should have won, and they need to start winning at home if they want to stay up, because it is going to be a very long season if they can't pick up points. So tomorrow's going to be a big one for them.
George, have you got any comments to Kevin Campbell's responses on Everton?
I just think Everton are going to really struggle. They don't look like they've really done. Like, I'm really surprised they've not done much today. Like, especially like how like they've sold Alex Iwobi. Basically, that's all they've really done. I think this season might actually be the time when they go down.
9 lives up?
Pardon?
You think their 9 lives are up?
Yeah. They just ain't got the players, mate. Like Abdi said, they have to rely on Calvert-Lewin to stay fit. Like Neil Maupay. So that's I've not even had a drink. I can't say that. Has left today.
Brian. Yeah. Brentford, sorry.
I was going to say
Back to
Brighton. Wow.
Brian, I said.
He's gone back where he's basically really.
Before the BBC Sport have now released the confirmation of Amrabat.
Yes, Man United have officially announced it at 10:30. I was going to say that United were about to announce it at 10:30, but videos are going on, so I didn't really interrupt in between that as well.
Yep, that's fine.
Also, Bella Kodjiat, I think I might be saying that name wrong, but from Southampton has left to go to PSV Eindhoven.
Nason Daka to Bournemouth is off.
What?
Still off.
Oh,
It was close, but won't happen.
that's a shame. That would have been a very good
I didn't
move.
actually know that was
surprising.
happening. I kind of missed that one.
Came out of nowhere, that one.
Would have been a big deal. So anyway, George, have you got any more to say?
No, but also Diego, I think it's Morella from
Moreira. Yeah, he went to Olympic Lyon or
Yeah,
Marseille.
Leon on loan.
Yeah,
Diego Moreira.
one of your youngsters.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dan, any comments on Kevin Campbell responses?
Mainly just sort of what's been said about Everton. You know, they've already struggled this season. They've struggled in their games. They struggled against Doncaster. I don't see them winning this weekend. I think it's an important one, but I can see it being a draw, which I don't think helps either side. But I think Everton, I like to compare them in a way to Southampton. Like, they were both going to end up in this situation. I think they both it was like they were walking the table and they were walking backwards without looking where they were going. And eventually you fall off. And I think Southampton obviously did it last season. They've gone down. And I think, again, like it's already been said, but I think it's Everton's time. And I cannot see them staying up this season. I would be completely shocked. And, you know, without predicting too much, I think it'll probably be Everton along with Sheffield United and Luton that end up going down at the end of this season.
Any transfer news, George, before we move on to the last video from Kevin Campbell?
No, just obviously, like Abdi said, Daka is now off. Sinestri has apparently passed his medical for Bournemouth, so that's another good signing. And all the rest is just a matter of confirmations with the stories that we said. There's no new breaking news.
Well, we've got our last contribution video to play you, and that is, again, our special guest, Kevin Campbell, talking about Nottingham Forest transfers.
Nottingham Forest seem to be doing a bit of business. They've taken Tavares from Arsenal. Steve Cooper seems to be amassing a pretty good squad there at Nottingham Forest. I like what he's doing, like the club, very, very good players. Not too sure, there's rumours that Brennan Johnson might leave, but I can't see it. I can't see Nottingham Forest getting rid of Brennan Johnson, who was so important to them last season. And, you know, he's proven to be one of their top players this season, you know, with his pace, etc. Awoniyi linking up as well. I just can't see them selling. I think they've got to add and get better. Will they do any more business? I'm not so sure. Maybe depending if the right team or players succumb to their advances. But I think, in general, I think Nottingham Forest have had a good transfer window anyway. So I wish them well this season. I think they're going to do a lot better than they did last season. So that's it. That's me out. Transfer deadline day. Take it easy. Super Kev. Bye.
Way Super Kev. Unfortunately, Super Kev, Brennan Johnson has left Nottingham Forest and is
Yeah, they have sold a
approaching
player.
Spurs. Yep. Well, they've
So,
done
yeah.
quick business.
I was going to say exactly this about Brendan Johnson. Yeah, Brendan Johnson has left. Sorry, Kev, but yeah, he's gone. He's gone to Tottenham. So, who wants to comment first on any of this?
I can go.
Okay.
With Forest, I think from what I've been reading and what some people have told me, it's a bit of. I think they're a bit shocked that Johnson has gone, because this deal's been brewing for a little while, and apparently he said that he was going to stay. Well, you know what's happened next. He's gone. But you know what? Fair play to Forest. They got a decent amount for him, just under 50 million. So I think it's going to total up to 47, 48 million. It's decent business for a team like Nottingham Forest. Some of the players they brought in, it looks like they're going to be really, really good players going forward. Be interesting to see how Tavares does. Right. He can't be any worse than he was at Arsenal. So, and he's got that European experience. So yeah, I do agree with Kev. I think Nottingham Forest will do quite well this season. They've just got to sort their away form out. Like, I thought they played quite well against United at Old Trafford, and United came back into it, but they still played quite well. To still go 2-0 up against United at home, not every team does that. So, but
I
yeah,
do think those goals were preventable, but yeah, no, it was a good performance by them for the majority of that game. So,
but they still have to put those chances away, don't they?
yeah, of course.
And I thought even in the second half against Arsenal, they were unlucky, not to get more out of that. But just also thanks to Kev for doing the features and all that. It means a lot.
Yep. Good to see Super Kev on the show. Yeah, Donny van der Beek will not leave Manchester United as well, is the word. Another one.
Forgot about
More
it.
time for him to chill out then, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like he's a bit of another one who had options to leave but didn't really take it. It's kind of frustrating when you have players that you kind of want to shift on and try and get them first team minutes and give them opportunities to go rejuvenate their career, and they just want to sort of sit back and not really get any minutes. So I feel sorry. I feel sorry for Donny. I feel sorry for Donny in terms of how it panned out for him at United, but he should be ambitious enough to wanting to get back on track as well, but doesn't look like it.
Also, Pierre Højbjerg is a no-go to Atletico Madrid, so he stays at Tottenham along with Eric Dyer and Hugo Lloris, and Javier Tandanga has gone on loan to Augsburg.
Yeah, and Conor Gallagher is staying at Chelsea as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, he won't going anywhere. Like, he's been playing for Chelsea as well. Like, there's all this talking going to Tottenham. It was never happening.
No, he was never going, but it's been coming up all day, like, mentions of it and that, but he was never going anywhere.
Chelsea and Tottenham won't do business. They've already said so.
Especially the way Tottenham treated Chelsea in terms of when they want to sign players from them, and Tottenham now that they want to come as well, it's not going to be easy. It ain't going to be easy.
A lot of as Romano and Ornstein said, they don't really understand where the links from these clubs happen, because they won't do business together. It's like Arsenal and Tottenham won't do business, or it's like I don't see Man United and Liverpool unless you know.
No, that's not happening.
No, I'd be shocked.
That's not happening.
Unless you're
Not a
Man-
chance.
So the transfer show is almost at an end. Now, if you're in our Facebook and WhatsApp groups, I would have just popped in a link into both of these now. So if any of you who want to come in and talk to us about the transfer window, we will leave this up for a bit while I mention one or two more transfers. You can do so. And if not, obviously we'll finish the show very soon. But yes, this is your opportunity. If anyone fancies coming into the show to tell us what you think and to feature, you are more than welcome to step in the meeting, talk to all of us.
Sorry,
I think I
didn't-
might
I
have
wasn't-
had someone, but I don't know if he was going to come in. If anyone, is it the same link that was sent to me or not?
Yes, it's the same link that's just been posted.
Right.
So
I'm
there
not
is-
in any of the groups, I don't think.
well, I know you were, but I'm not sure if you still are. So
I didn't know if it was a link George sent me earlier.
it is.
No worries, because I had Connor. He said he was interested if he could get the time to. He was quite interested earlier.
Well, I mean, I don't know what Connor's doing now, but you're more than welcome to get
Top
in
of the
touch with him.
Top of the table.
Yeah, no, I'll send it over to him, and then I'll obviously just have to leave it to Connor.
Yep, leave it up to him. We will still stay on for a little bit. What were you going to say, Abdi? Because you were trying to say
Sorry, yes. One transfer that I'm a bit surprised about that I didn't actually realise. I just seen Eric Garcia has gone to join Girona on loan from Barcelona.
something. Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So a bit
And
on-
Rob Holding has joined Crystal Palace and a permanent deal from Arsenal. 1 million plus 2.5 in add-ons. Yep. So yeah, he's joined Palace
a bit
George.
on-
and
bit
is
on-
eligible for the game against the Wolves.
Okay.
So a bit on the Eric Garcia move. He had to be moved on because of Cancelo and FFP because Cancelo's took a wage cut. But I'm surprised Arsenal didn't go for Garcia on a loan deal.
Mm.
That as defensive cover, but
Would have been a good idea just to cover the injuries and that, and have another player in the squad if you needed one.
also it's not men's football; it's women's. But
Interesting.
not breaking news, but it's looking very highly likely that Mary Ertz does stay at United till next summer.
Yeah.
She-
Yeah.
Cheap for United. That big.
Yeah.
until she leaves again on a free to go to the better club in Arsenal.
Shut up.
That's
I'll
Russo.
find you. She can. Well, actually, it's nearly 11 o'clock. Well, after the watershed, I was about to, but I'll still keep it friendly. But yeah,
Mm.
she can do one. Let's just keep it at that.
Friendly. So yes,
Mm.
the link is open. We'll leave it for a bit longer, but if no one comes after 11, we will probably have to start shutting down. But thank
I
you.
shall be departing very shortly because I need to go get some food.
No, that's fine.
So-
Thank you to everyone who've watched on and off today. We really appreciate it. One quick move I want to discuss is Fatty moving to Brighton,
Fatty boy.
because
Ratty boy.
I think that was, honestly, when I saw this last night, I thought, hang on, what? To say it's a surprising move is definitely quite an understatement. And I have this on my list of unmentioned transfers, and we've not really, we kind of mentioned it briefly, but not much. So I'd like to
Tottenham in the mud. Yeah.
I'd like to, talk more about this. So let's get your thoughts on this one, Abdi.
It is one that sort of came out of the blue, and it's the weirdest thing that I've seen. It's one of those ones where you have to sort of scratch your head and pinch yourself and be like, "Is this real? Am I awake?" Feels like I've stumbled into an alternate dimension in terms of Ansu Fati, the kid that broke onto Barcelona at like 16, 17, was given the number 10 shirt after Messi had left, was touted to be the next wonder kid. Unfortunately, sustained a couple injuries and had some injury problems and was touted to be their future and next wonder kid essentially before Pedri and Gavi came in there. But yeah, it's a very interesting one. I believe he hasn't really had any injuries recently, so he's been okay relatively on that side of things. So that's good to hear. But I think it's more about minutes that he didn't get at Barcelona, so comes over to Brighton to get minutes, and I think it's a very good move for both parties, to be fair, because Brighton play very good football, and they had the injury to Enciso, so it makes sense. Plus, they're in Europe, so yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one to watch how he develops and plays, because I just realised as well, the first game after the international break for Brighton, it's against us at Old Trafford, so he could make his debut then. But I believe he might have been registered in time for, yeah, because it was yesterday. So
He
could
can
play
against
this
Dortmund.
weekend against
Yeah, he could be involved.
Newcastle. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see. But it's a very good signing overall. Very good signing.
Okay.
Strange, but good.
George, your thoughts on that?
It was surprising. It was like one of those moves that you see on like Football Manager in 2048 or something. It's a surprising move. I think it's a bit of a massive statement signing as well. Fair play to them. Like, I think Brighton have done really well. Like most of their people they're bringing in is built on youngsters that no one knows, and then Brighton make them, then sell them on for a huge profit. Like if you go through everyone that they've sold that they've made a lot of money just out of Chelsea. Like at least near on like 250, 300 million on Chelsea. So with Ansu Fati, I think he's a good player. Looking forward to watching him play for Brighton. It reminds me a bit like Bojan Krdic. Do you remember him when he like played for Barcelona
Yeah.
and ended up at Stoke?
Yeah. That was a weird one as well. But hopefully it doesn't end up the same way as it did for him.
Hopefully not.
Look at Adams as well. Remember, he was at Leipzig, and then he was at one stage. All the top clubs were after him, and he's ended up at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, this is why it's hard. Like I know other clubs get big money for their, I'd say get decent money for their fringe players, but if you've got teams like Bournemouth and that getting like European captains and good players, it's hard to actually make a bit of money on the crap. Like, because realistically, like who's going to want the players they're bringing in from Europe are going to be probably better than your fringe players, because the reason you're not going to get much money from them is because you don't want them. If they were that good,
Sorry, I just saw something. 1 second, I'm just going to confirm. Continue. Sorry,
yeah, like I know Arsenal have not been great with sell-on fees, but you look at Brighton. Brighton is just the like the ones to go to. Like you think Casado, that was 115. Trossard was 27. Was it 40 or 50 for Cucurella? Who else have they sold? I think obviously they bet 50 for Ben White. Then they even got like 10, 20 million for their manager.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt you. It's official breaking news. Mason Greenwood to Getafe is a deal done and agreed, and it's all signed. He's going to, he has the green light to go, and it's I think it's a loan move, I believe, full permanent deal. So yeah, sorry for interrupting that. And Brennan Johnson should be announced in the next 6 minutes at 11 o'clock apparently. So.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like with Brighton, you think of the players they sold on. And then what they do, they just bring in youngsters to replace them. Like they brought in the midfielder from Lille or Lyon as Caicedo's replacement. So what he'll do, he'll play for a couple of years and then they'll make loads of money on him. So I think they've got a clever way of looking at it. I feel like I forgot someone that they've sold on. And obviously Caicedo and Trossard and all that.
Alistair.
Yeah, that's it, McAllister. That, and obviously I think Ferguson will be the next one. I think it's a bit bonkers, people saying he's 100 million. But
well, we could say there are a lot of transfer fees in this window, in any transfer window these days.
He ain't done nothing for me.
No, he hasn't, to be honest. He's not really been prominent. He's not really done anything to justify that, really. But not, like I said, a lot of players don't really justify their price tags because the price tags are insane these days.
Yeah. But
they're at a mad level.
Okay, Dan, have you got anything else to add that hasn't been mentioned on Fatty to Brighton?
No, I think it's just, it's a really good move. I think if it works out, but he's not likely to play at Barcelona. I know there's no option in the loan, but with the money that Brighton have made, I don't see why, if Barcelona do become open to selling, I don't see why they couldn't push for that next season if it does work out. There's no options, so there's no set price. So Barcelona are kind of free to demand what they want. But if it's in Brighton's range and they consider it, worth doing, he's a young player, sort of what they usually sign, younger players. And again, like you said, play for a few years. And I think I just want to go back earlier, like completely. It's off topic, but on topic to what George said about Liverpool, where if you're an up and coming player, you could go to Arsenal. To be honest, think at the moment, Brighton is worth considering. They're in Europe. They have obviously a high success rate for developing players, and you end up at a top club usually, and Brighton get a load of money for it. So I think if you're a young up and coming player and you're looking for first team football, I'd probably suggest Brighton as a place to go at the moment, to be honest.
Okay, so we have under 3 minutes before the transfer window closes. We've been with you for the last 3 hours, keeping you company while the transfer window has been open. There's one more club I want to discuss before we come out of here, and I was hoping to get a supporter from this team on, but unfortunately we were not able to do so. But I want to talk. Yeah, of course. He's seen my notes. He has seen my notes.
Yep.
I want to talk Newcastle United because, there's been debates as to whether they've brought in Champions League quality players. And I guess you can say they have with Tonali and, players there's been various opinions on that during our Premier League review show, especially. So I want you all to share your thoughts on Newcastle United, and we're going to start with Abdi. What are your thoughts on Newcastle United's transfer window?
So Sandro Tonali is the standout obvious person that they signed. They signed Harvey Barnes as well, which is a very good signing as well. Who else did they bring in? I'm blanking. They really made a few signings.
Lewis Hall.
Not too many. Lewis Hall.
Tino Livramento.
Yeah, some good fallback options there. I'd say the major one was Sandro Tonali, because that was 70 million euros, I believe. And for Newcastle, I feel like they're moving smart in terms of they're not going too crazy in terms of how many people they're bringing in. They're moving smart and they have an ethos of how they work. They probably could have shifted a few more players on, but now that Champions League football is coming around, they need to sort of rotate and have a bit more depth to them. I'm not too sure if they have that depth at the moment. We have to wait and see. They might struggle with it, but the signings that they have made, Tonali, Livramento, Lewis Hall, and Harvey Barnes, are all very good signings, and I feel like they all fit what Eddie Howe's trying to do at Newcastle. And yeah, good luck to them in the Champions League, because their group is a toughie. It's straight out of the pan into the fire, pretty much, in terms of PSG, Dortmund, and who's the other one? AC Milan.
Transfer window shut, by the way, lads.
Yeah,
I
it
actually
is
think
11
they will get
o'clock.
out as well.
It
Yeah,
is 11 o'clock, and the
and the
transfer
window
window
slams shut.
slammed shut until January. So
Good.
yes,
Actually, to be fair, some windows are still open. It's the
yes, some
our
windows are
windows
still
closed.
open, but ours is closed. Obviously, we will finish wrapping up Newcastle before we go. But yeah, transfer window is now shut. If any deals still come in for or get finalized or whatever,
Brennan Johnson should have been announced now.
That's got to be the
I
next
haven't
couple
seen
of minutes, isn't it?
yeah.
it should be now, right now.
If something does get announced before we are out of here, we will basically tell you. But we are going to get close to wrapping up. So Abdi, carry
Yeah.
on Newcastle.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of their transfer business, there it is. Welcome to Tottenham Hotspur. Brennan Johnson. In terms of their transfer business, is very good and going forwards towards the Champions League. Their group is very hard, but I actually think that they will get out of that group, and they'll find a way. I feel like they should be up for it more than most teams because their first one. Those away days are going to be special for those fans, and St James Park will be rocking. I think Newcastle will just be too physical for their opponents and body them. I'm not saying they'll top the group or anything, but I don't think they are that strong. They're the opposition. They're big teams, sure, but they're not as strong as they could be in terms of Dortmund's okay, but they're not that strong. You can beat them pretty much. Milan got slacked 5-0 by Graham Potter's Chelsea, and Paris Saint-Germain are Paris Saint-Germain, but they're in a bit of transition as well. They signed Randall Colomani earlier, which is very interesting because they signed two strikers that we're looking at in Randall Colomani and Gonzalo Ramos, and they still have Mbappe as well. So we'll see how they all fit in there. But as for Newcastle, if they just keep doing what they're doing, what got them to the dance last season, and incorporate the signings that they made this season into that squad, and they bed in and they buy into what Eddie Howe's doing, then Newcastle United will be all right. And yeah, Hetafe have, I believe, just announced Mason Greenwood as well.
Yeah, it's just been confirmed just now, as far as I know.
Yep. So,
Well,
yeah, that was quick.
Speaking of the Champions League, just to let you know that we have pre-recorded some shows which will go out over the next few weeks while we're away for a bit. And one of them is the Champions League draw review. So you can hear us talk about the groups and what we think will happen, who will win the group, who will finish second, and who will drop into the Europa League. So very good there, Abdi, to help with advertising that as well.
Yeah, boy.
There is also an England squad review, which raised some interesting issues, as you can imagine. So there will be that to listen to, as well as a Premier League preview show for the weekend commencing the 16th of September. So we'll carry on with this. George, your thoughts on Newcastle's transfer window?
I'm the complete opposite. I think it's been really disappointing. I think Sandro Tonali is a very good signing, but apart from that, nothing else really worries me. I think they could have done a lot more. I think they needed another centre half because when Botman's injured now.
He is injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should struggle there. I just feel like they need a proper playmaker. I know they have Bruno Guimaraes, but just in that 10 role, there's not anyone that really worries me. And I think going in the Champions League, I think they've just got to just have a bit better. I don't know how Anthony Gordon and Miguel Almiron will do in the Champions League. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens. But I was in agreement with Abdi. I think they'll qualify out their group. I don't think PSG and all that are that as good. And plus the atmosphere and that, it will be a positive factor for them.
You'll carry them over.
Yeah. I don't know. Like just like the Lewis Hall and the Livramento signing. I don't get it. It's either one or the other for me. I don't understand both, but what do I know? I'm not Eddie Howe, am I? So,
Eddie who?
so I just think it'd be interesting to see what they do, like being in all these competitions as well. After they got the squad to compete and all of that, I don't think they have. Because and they've got Champions League quality, like they've got Trippier, they've got Sandro, they've got Bruno Guimaraes. I think Isak's a Champions League striker. I think you'll see him do a lot better this season. But we'll just have to wait and see. But they could have done a bit more for me. And I know there's a lot of Newcastle fans who are a bit frustrated. I think it is what it is. It was a similar story to other clubs. They just took too long to get rid of their deadwood out of the club.
Okay, and last but not least, we move on to you, Dan. What would you say what is there anything else you want to say about Newcastle United's transfer window and the buys and the sales?
Yeah, just to be the complete opposite of everyone, I'm going to go down the middle, to be honest. I don't think it was a brilliant transfer window, but it wasn't disappointing. Livramento and Hall, I think, agreeing with George, was probably one or the other, but they can, so they did. Hall this season is a loan, so it hasn't really affected them. I think Livramento, though, I see it as, I know there's a player in there, and I know there is talent, but I see it as a massive fee for a player that, all right, he was good at Southampton, but we've not really seen him because he was out for the last year or whatever. Another season at Southampton might have not been the worst thing out there. See, like, he's back into it, see how he gets on there. But for them to go out there and pay that in one hit, I can't see him. I mean, maybe further down the line in the season, starting more games, but I can't see him sort of being their first choice at the moment. And I do think Hall's a good player. Again, there's a player in there. As I said, I think they have obligation, if I'm not wrong there, to buy. But this season again hasn't cost them anything, which is probably why they managed to get both. I think they've got some Champions League players in there again. Isak, Guimaraes, definitely. Tonali, I think, is going to be a top player. But yeah, I think there's, again, they could have done with a centre half. There's a few things they could have done with. They weren't the quickest with the sales, and it's not that they've had a terrible time of it. They've signed a couple of young players who could go all the way and be top players. I think Barnes, again, not a bad signing either. Decent player, maybe not world class, but he's a decent player, and I think they'll come out of their group. I think we know it's probably Newcastle and PSG. Or Dortmund, I'd imagine probably PSG coming out of that group. But I can't see why Newcastle would have any issues coming out of it. They're going to be up for it. The atmosphere is going to be there. And they're all teams in that group, really, that they can beat, to be honest. If they lose to PSG, maybe away, but they can beat PSG at home. And I think they've got enough to get out of that group. I don't know how far they'll go. But surprisingly, I could predict them to go quite far because I just feel like that atmosphere, the experience, it might just carry them through. I'm not saying they're going to win it by any means, but maybe semi-finals, quarter-finals, because I just feel like they've got that high to go off of, and they're running on something to carry them through. So I think it's a decent transfer window, and I think they're going to have a decent season.
Yeah, I said AC Milan would go through.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to do a whole Champions League preview, but what I will say as a little sneak peek of the pre-record is a lot of us said that group pretty much any of these teams could make it out of the group. That's how tight that group is. One thing on Harvey Barnes that I would say, to chuck my own 5p into this, he's been coming off the bench for Newcastle when he signed. I personally thought he would have been a starting player for Newcastle, at least in the leagues. So that part has surprised me a little bit. But yes, right. That was the Transfer Deadline special live show. Thank you to everybody who's watched on and off. We've had various people popping up to watch. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to George and Abdi, fellow admin managers, to keep this going. And thank you to George also for organizing this, some of the contributors as well and guests. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to Leighton. Thank you to Jonesy and Ray. Thank you to you, Dan, as well, for coming on. Thank you to everyone who's joined in. Thank you to Arsenal Manic, who's commented, anyone who watched, and anyone who will be watching this on demand. It's been a very special one and probably our biggest and most ambitious project yet. And there is definitely more to come for the channel with our new ways of doing things. So thank you very much to everyone who's watched. Let's carry this on. Let's carry on the momentum. We will finish in our usual ways, of course. Abdi, where can people find you if they want to talk about what you've just said during the last 3 hours?
Yeah, you can find me on the Twitter machine at aabdullahi26, at aabdullahi26. You can find my ramblings there. I don't know. I just chat shit. So if you're into that, then come along, say hello.
Dinosaur on the X machine. George, where can?
Oh yeah, no, I refuse to call it that. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't get
You and me both.
You can do one.
lot of us.
On the Elon Musk controlling machine, you can find me at George AWFC.
We're going to get on the Threads bandwagon.
A-dubs.
Get on the Threads bandwagon. Dan, you've got Twitter. Can people find you there?
Yep, you can find me on Musk Central at Dano12021. So it's DANNO 12021. And I'm always up for a good football chat. Not just Liverpool, anything football related. Feel free to, anything. Always a good football chat. So feel free to bring me any football comments.
About the Champions League.
I'll still talk about that. Don't worry.
Okay. Thursday,
I'm not going to be a
Thursday,
snowflake about it, mate.
Thursday, Sunday. And you can find me on at Hubert3001. That is HUBERT 3001. And you can find us.
Subsonics.
Well, that's gone now, mate.
Yeah, what'd you kill that off for?
Because it's old. It's in the past, mate. My DJ days of DJ Subsonics are gone. But hey,
he'll come back one day.
While that's gone, while one door closes, another one opens. So yeah, you can find us on at Golden Goal TV on X/Twitter/ at some point maybe Threads. And you can, of course, find us. We've got the Facebook group, so join us there for discussions, predictions, and all sorts. And we've got the WhatsApp group, of course, if you fancy a more tight niche circle of football fans to chat to. And of course, we've got the YouTube channel that you've been hopefully watching. So like this video, share it with your friends. There'll be more lives to come. So subscribe to the channel as well and click that bell icon to receive notifications. Every time something happens on the channel, you will then know about it. So why not to do that? So yes.
I'll just say something, Hubert. Actually, there will also be a bonus feature to this show, because there'll be a video from Tom Canton who works for Football London. So keep posted.
About that. So yeah, we will be uploading another video, exclusive follow-up to this transfer deadline day. We will be back next week on Monday with the Premier League review show of the weekend's action before we go on a little break and leave you with the pre-recorded content. But yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Abdi, George, Dan, Jonesy, Ray, and Leighton, and everyone else who watched. We will see you all very shortly.
Good night, people.